ASA season has gotten underway here, and in this part of the country, they have been getting hammered by torrential weather, but under clear skies and with beautiful conditions for the fans, we will be racing on the I-70 Speedway. Hello again, everybody. I'm Brian Drever, along with my good friend Rob Albright, former race car driver. He'll have a lot to say about what's going on here tonight, and so far, what we have talked about throughout this young season have been the veteran drivers, and one driver in particular, Mike Eddy. Once again, we're talking about the ASA's biggest star.
How can you not? He won the first 3 races after winning 6 in a row in Florida. He didn't win last weekend. That's a story in and of itself, and even with problems in the pits, a 3rd place finish. You know what the drivers are talking about tonight, though, with regard to Mike Eddy? He didn't qualify on the front row. He's back in row number 6, and they say when that happens, he's even more dangerous.
Well, we have seen some great runs up through the field by Mike Eddy. He'll be starting one from the drop of the green flag here tonight. We're at I-70 Speedway, and Rob, for the first time, we can really talk about a high-bank, high-speed oval. It is a short track, but it's one that some of the drivers are saying can jump up and bite you.
Unfortunately, the television cameras really don't do the banking here justice. It is extremely steep, and what makes it a challenge for the drivers is that each of the 2 ends of the racetrack are completely different, so chassis setup is something of a compromise. And with the weather, the change of the night skies and the cooler conditions will play another factor. 2 drivers did taste the concrete during practice today. They both have been able to get their cars ready to go tonight.
36 cars on the starting grid, and also down on the starting grid is Ralph Shaheen. Now, the story has been some of the veteran drivers, but there's a little bit of a different angle going on, and for that and a lot more tonight, we'll be going to the 3rd member of our broadcast team. Here's Ralph.
Last week at Jennerstown, Bob Seneker and his Bluebird sat on the pole and then won the race. 1 week later, right here at I-70, things look pretty much the same at the start of the event. You're back on the pole. This is a pretty good roll you're on. Have you found something? Is there something new about you in this car?
Well, we've been working a lot on the chassis lately, and we picked up some speed, but you know, 1 win doesn't tell it all. The problems we have here in the last 4 or 5 years have been nothing but bad luck. We're fast enough, the team's fast enough, the crew's fast enough. We just hope we can pull it off.
Well, last week, you remember Mike Eddy started alongside. Not this week. Mike is all the way back in 12th position. But Dave Sensabaugh, for the first time in your ASA career, you are on the front row. What is it about you tonight? Because you normally are not that great of a qualifier.
Thank you, Rob. This West Michigan Chevy dealers Lane Automotive car, it's been really good, just bad qualifying by the driver. After last week, we had a good car in practice, and we qualified 19th. So the guy's been riding me all week, but we're getting the Monte Carlo figured out, and I come out here, and my heart's for the guys. I want to get on the front row for them.
You know, gentlemen, that is something that a driver has to overcome, getting the feel for getting on the front row. Dave Sensabaugh has that now. Maybe he can get the feel for a win, too.
As we look at the starting grid and we gaze into the crystal ball that takes us down towards the end of the season, Mike Eddy, with his 3 victories this season, remains atop the point standings. And there you can see those who are chasing him for the season.
And with about 4 or 5 points between each position, 5 at the top, and then as you go down, it decreases somewhat. You can see that Gary St. Amant, Glenn Allen Jr., and Scott Hansen are hoping for one bad race on the part of Mike Eddy in order to close that points gap. St. Amant now is ready to charge for a win, he says, after some strong runs, but not really a top 2 or 3 finish. There's the rest of the top 10, and with a victory, Bob Seneker jumps up a number of spots to 6th.
It really does take one run of bad luck for anybody to make a big move in the point standings, because as you say, there's not a lot of difference between 1st and 2nd, 2nd and 3rd, and so on. So as we look at 36 cars on the starting grid here for this Kansas City Pontiac Dealers Pontiac Excitement 300, the moment that we all wait for, of course, is firing up the engines. And the man that presides over that honor, once again, here's Ralph.
Well, Brian, since it is a Pontiac-sponsored event tonight, it only makes sense that Robert Brogdon, who owns Robert Brogdon Auto Plaza here in the Kansas City area, gets us underway. So how about it?
Drivers, start your engines.
Thunder of 36 race car engines now fills the air in the state of Missouri. And in just a few moments, those engines will be moving these cars around the racetrack. And we'll be right back for that.
Whatever happened to the American dream? The dream that said hard work counted for as much as deep pockets, that if you learned the ropes and believed in yourself, you could become a sports hero without being blessed with $1 million deal. The
AC-Delco Challenge Series, America's premier short track stock car series on Prime. Next Saturday, June 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Watch the Missouri 300 live. That's ASA stock car racing next Saturday on Prime.
Vitamins do for your body, VitaWins does for your car.
Live NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the UAW GM Teamwork 500 live Sunday, June 11th, 1 p.m. Eastern. Power up with a power-engineered system from Competition Cam. Matching components for peak horsepower. Cams, lifters, springs, valves, rockers, timing sets, and push rods. An unbeatable system. Power-engineered components produce outstanding power and outstanding torque. Cam Help is your toll-free link to the Competition Cam's technical department. Call 1-800-999-0853. You can't beat a power-engineered system from Competition Cam.
The AC-Delco Challenge Series on Prime presents the Kansas City Pontiac dealers Pontiac Excitement 300. Brought to you in part by Wynn Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's wins, it works. By your GM Goodwrench service dealer, we want your business. By Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires. By Winnebago. Raise your expectations of what a motorhome should be. The AC-Delco pace car circling the track ahead of the field. A little bit of moisture, a lot of moisture in the ground, Rob Albright. Some of it, and you can see, has sort of made its way up, seeping up through the pavement on the track. So they're going to be taking a fair number of laps here to kind of dry the track off just a little bit. And while they do, and while the fans participate in the wave lap with all the drivers waving back at them, here's a look at the starting grid.
No major surprises in the front row. A second successive pole, but his first here since 1979 for Bob Seneca and the Johnsonville Foods Lane Automotive Ford Thunderbird. But a best career qualifying effort for Dave Sensiba and the Western Michigan Chevy dealers Lane Chevy.
Likewise, Joe Knott continues to raise eyebrows and put on some good qualifying performances. The youngest driver in ASA sits on the inside of row #2, John O'Neill. Boy, the local fans are hoping for big things from this young man. He is behind the wheel of the Quaker State Ford National Burn Ford, and he sits outside the second row.
In the third row, a pair of Pontiacs, Mike Miller and the Atlanta Communications Machine, and Tony Raines and the Baker Enterprises Burn Pontiac.
And in the next row, Rick Miller leads the rookie battle. Tony Roper looking for a good finish here. That is row #4, and already we're at row 5.
Glenn Allen Jr., Jay Sauter in row 5, Gary St. Amant, Mike Eddy in the 6th row.
Here's Rick Beebe and Jeff Neal on row 7. A lot of talent there. Beebe sitting 3rd rookie points. Jay Summers in the rookie points battle as well. Brian Reffner, of course, runner-up in the rookie battle last year.
The 9th and 10th rows, Brad Loney, Bobby Gill making his first ASA start in some time. Scott Hansen and Bill Baird will go in row #10.
Continuing through the field, Ted Smokestad in the Super America Stores automobile. Ken Stauffer, veteran driver, outside row 11. Harold Fair, bad luck in qualifying, blew an engine. He's back in the race. And Brett Bell, the number 56 car.
Row 13, Tom Jones, who sustained serious damage a week ago. Pat Bordeaux, one of the leading rookie contenders. Row 14, Yale Conley, crashed in practice, borrowed a car from Dave Sensiba, and Eddie Sharp, a rookie in row 14.
Further back through the row, Brandon Sperling and the 51 machine alongside veteran driver Dennis Lamb, whose run of bad luck continued last week. Steve Shive and Johnny Spaw, another newcomer from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, in the field.
Row 17, veteran Ray Skillman, along with Dave Anspaugh in the 18th row, making his first career start, Bill Turner. And the second driver to have problems in practice and a wall-banging incident, Cindy Peterson, will start 36th in car number 36.
That sets the starting grid. For those of you with a high rate of retention, you'll be able to keep track of all the drivers and where they started this race. And of course, Rob and I and Ralph Shaheen will keep you posted throughout the entire event about what they are doing and where they are throughout the race.
The racetrack somewhat of a D shape. The front stretch pretty straight. The back stretch has an arc to it, a little over half a mile. The turn's banked at 28 degrees. The front straightaway at just 6 degrees, and that sometimes creates problems for drivers as it levels fast coming off turn number 4, and it causes problems with the car getting loose. The back straightaway with a dogleg in it, about 12 degrees of banking.
Hopefully they'll get that cleaned up before the race gets underway. 300 laps, 162 miles of racing. The young flagman Roger Slack getting set to give him the flag, and here is the summary really of what we'll be seeing out here today.
36 drivers from 16 different states, the preponderance of the field Chevys, and Brian, we're ready to go racing.
It looks as though the green flag is poised and the field is starting to come up to speed. The pace car is off the track. Bob Seneker and the number 84 Bluebird getting a little tiny bit of a wiggle there alongside Dave Sensiba. The green flag has dropped, and the Kansas City Pontiac dealers Pontiac Excitement 300 is underway. Seneker going straight to the front.
This definitely will be a two-groove racetrack, but it may take a while for that to happen. Dave Sensiba, who started on the outside of row number 1, has fallen to 3rd position, and Joe Knott from the inside row 2 tucks in behind Seneker.
Joe Knott making a quick jump there, getting inside Sensiba now for the number 2 spot, so the field is already shuffled somewhat. And once again, we look at the number 71 car running in 5th spot right there. Certainly the local fans will be on their feet all night long for young John O'Neill from Kansas City, who made his debut last week in that 71 car.
A couple of black cars running the high groove, but still Tony Roper. He's on the outside of Jay Sauter, battling for position, and just a couple of spots behind them is Mike Eddy, who runs to the high side of Gary St. Amant.
Mike Miller from the number 5 spot moved to 4. Oh, and already we get a pair of black cars turning each other around. Jay Sauter and Tony Roper. His bad luck continues. We spoke to Tony before the start of the race, and he had said if he would only be able to finish where he was running when he had problems, he'd be second in points. Well, that tale continues.
And the hapless Roper gets the Child's Tire Snyder Equipment Chevrolet refired, but he's not going anywhere, Brian. Heavy damage to the front of that race car. And the two spun in tandem. I saw it, but honestly, I couldn't tell really what triggered it. We're going to have to take another look, and that's one of the beauties of having the instant replay. We'll have another shot at it momentarily. But a very disgusted and dejected Tony Roper, who's been so strong over the last several races, and Jay Sauter, who's running a limited schedule this season. A couple of drivers who expected big things of today out already. And we saw that Rick Beebe's car was hit by debris, I think, or maybe he clipped car number 10, the Tony Roper machine, just as he scooted through. May only be a cut tire. We understand Gary St. Amant might have been hit from by some debris also, and he's come to rest down at the bottom of the racetrack and now gets it refired, the Wynn's Ford Thunderbird.
A cut tire. That was a removed tire on Rick Beebe's car. Here's St. Amant. He's getting back underway, and here's the first of what we expect to be several looks at what's going on. There it goes.
Well, it looked like Tony Roper, who was trying to work the high side, may have got just a little loose coming off turn number 4. Watch Glenn Allen here.
Split the field.
He taps the hood of Jay Sauter, but incredibly manages to get through. And you can see there was Rick Beebe's right rear corner being caught by the sliding car number 1 of Jay Sauter. How in the world did Glenn Allen keep from getting Jay Sauter's machine broadside? Here's another angle. Watch him out of turn number 4. Again, I mentioned turn 4, the car unloads quickly. Maybe there was a little bit of contact because suddenly Roper's car was going sideways. He may have drifted high, and when he tried to come back down off the wall, Sauter collected him.
Well, it did look as though Sauter just nudged up the tiniest bit coming out of 4 there, and of course the two of them running side by side, but it continues absolutely to amaze me how this accident was not more serious than it was.
One more perspective coming off turn number 4. Well, I don't know. It didn't look like Roper got too badly out of shape, but suddenly he was going sideways. Whether a tire got cut down or whether Jay Sauter bumped him from behind, man, it's one of those too close to call.
Unbelievable how the car of Tony Roper went up to the wall and back down again without collecting some more. Now here's Rick Beebe's tire coming completely off after he engages some debris on the racetrack. And everybody is just breathing a sigh of relief that there was no more damage than we have incurred so far. Let's go down to Ralph Shaheen down on the infield with more.
Well, we've caught up with Jay Sauter. Jay, can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I come up under Tony and got loose in some water and got into him and triggered a wreck. It's a shame. The car was running excellent. You know, I feel bad for the team. Just come back next week, I guess.
This has kind of been a tough racetrack for you last few years.
I love the place. It's a fast racetrack. We always run good. The car's running fast, and just got in trouble tonight.
It's a big move on Jay Sauter's part, gentlemen, to admit to the fact that it's been a tricky night for him here.
Jay Sauter in the first chiropractic Metalcraft Pontiac. Night over early for him, and we had mentioned the moisture coming up through the track. Jay Sauter concurs with that analysis of a problem here tonight. We'll be back with more from the Kansas City Pontiac dealers' Pontiac excitement right after these important messages.
Property owners, if you want to clear overgrown areas, you could struggle with a shaky sickle bar mower like this, or with a handheld brush cutter like this. Or instead, you could cut tall grass and weeds, brambles, sumac, even hardwood saplings up to 1 inch thick with the amazing DR Field and Brush Mower. The Field and Brush Mower chops most everything it cuts. There's no tangled brush to trip over or to pick up. And those big self-propelled wheels roll right through ditches, over bumps, and logs with ease. The DR is not for your lawn, but what a job it does with meadows, roadsides, fence lines, walking paths, and woodlots. You can clear and maintain them all with the DR, every few weeks, once a season, whenever you want. A big color catalog is just $2. Call toll-free 1-800-352-2121. That's 1-800-352-2121 for your big color catalog all about the amazing DR Field and Brush Mower.
Major League Baseball takes the field, bringing you the latest from the diamond. It's all hits, runs, and no errors as Fruit presents Pennant Chase. Catch the excitement all season on this regional sports network.
Welcome back to I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri, and things have started off, well, not exactly the way we would have liked them to, but certainly the excitement has been right up there at red line so far. Let's go back once again to Ralph Shaheen, who's down in the infield with the other driver affected in the first crash.
You can see the entire front end of Tony Roper's car is missing. It is beaten, battered, banged up. So are you, Tony. Are you okay?
I'm going to be pretty sore tomorrow, but yeah, I'm all right. Just hard to believe all this trouble we've had. We've had a lot of little problems, and then, you know, I don't know if somebody got in a hurry. I was way out against the wall, and, you know, I got hit in the wrong place, right in the left rear, and, you know, there wasn't nothing I could do to hold on, and, you know, I'm just glad nobody else was involved, and, you know, and serious, nobody got hurt. That's all we can ask for, I guess.
Well, again, apparently no one's fault. Jay Sauter pointing the finger squarely at himself. Got in some water, you know, an act of God, whatever you want to call it. We're back under green flag racing now, and things continue minus a couple of cars with Bob Seneker in first spot, followed by Joe Knott in the 48 machine.
Just before Ralph talked with Tony Roper, you could see Gary St. Amant weaving the car hard. He thinks he may have something caught up, some debris underneath his race car. Whether or not he was able to get that out from under there, I don't know, and neither does he, I don't think.
Whatever it was, there won't be much left of it at this speed as these drivers circulate the racetrack. Qualifying time at 16:7:05 translates to 116 miles an hour plus on the high bank high speed here at I-70 Speedway.
Glenn Allen Jr., there he is right behind Mike Eddy. Mike has already moved to 8th from 12th in the start, and Glenn Allen is tucked right in behind him, and he has to be breathing a sigh of relief that he even has an opportunity to defend last year's win of this race. There goes Eddie beneath rookie driver Rick Miller, and it's just appropriated 7th position. Glenn Allen will come right behind him.
Well, Mike Eddy picking up 3 spots on his own and a couple because of the absence of Tony Roper and Jay Sauter, but nevertheless, the man who would be the eight-time champion of the American Speed Association making his move toward the front. We just got a quick glimpse there of Smokestack's car number 32 jumping into the front end of the pit row, and Ralph Shaheen is with Bud St. Amant down in the infield.
Bud St. Amant is, of course, his son Gary's crew chief. Bud, Gary has something stuck in the front. Is he okay?
Yeah, Ralph, I think we just got a piece of bumper cover underneath the front end there, and I think it most of it ground away. Part of it come out, but I think we'll be all right.
Gentlemen, that piece of debris had gotten up underneath the left front wheel. It was actually between the left front wheel and the the body work in there. He's got to be careful he doesn't get it caught up in a brake line or up into the suspension.
Keep an eye on car number 7. You can see some sparks. You'll see some more here probably. We've seen it the last time down the backstretch. A bumper cover is made of fiberglass, and I don't know, it may be something metal that's underneath that race car. Fiberglass doesn't typically cause sparks.
There we will continue to keep a close eye on the number 7 car as they work their way through a little bit of traffic here. There's the car 32 of Smokestack, the Super America entry, coming back out on the racetrack. A couple of other cars going slowly. We'll try to get to the bottom of the particulars on each one of them. But the leaders running strong. There's Gary St. Amont's car, the number 7 machine, of course. That is the Wynn Sport City Ford Thunderbird. Here comes the 71 car with John O'Neill behind the wheel of what was A.J. Cooper's automobile. Of course, A.J. Cooper is here and with the car, but not as the driver any longer. A little bit of a gap opening up there, and back up front is Bob Seneker, who continues to lead from the pole in this Pontiac Excitement 300.
And O'Neill, that you're looking at, is backpedaling rather quickly as Seneker begins to stretch the advantage over second place Joe Knott. A pair of Fords running 1-2.
Bob Seneker proceeding smoothly around the track, and indeed John O'Neill, and I'm sure some of the fans here will be crestfallen. He is just having a big problem back there. It appears as though he might have cut down a tire or something. The car was just like it was on ice on the backstretch. Bob Seneker, though, on a rail out front right now. Joe Knott about 4 or 5 car lengths behind him in the number 48 Alan Knott Valvoline Bravey Ford Thunderbird. So a pair of T-Birds running up front right now.
There's Seneker leading. The man on the move is the 5th place car of Glenn Allen Jr. We're going to take a peek at him in just a second. There he is. He's made his way around Mike Eddy, picked up the 5th position, and now begins to close on the 4th place car number 87 of Tony Raines, or maybe that's 6 trying to get Raines for 5th.
Glenn Allen Jr. is one of the few drivers who has shown the determination and the ability to challenge Mike Eddy during the course of a race, and he is not afraid to get in there and mix it up with that black number 88. Here we see real nose-to-tail racing among the 4 or 5 drivers now who are trying to run down Bob Seneker.
John O'Neill, by the way, has brought that Quaker State Morgan National Burn Foundation Ford Thunderbird on pit road for a change of right side tires, so he might have run over some debris.
The way the car was wiggling around as he went down the backstretch, there was clearly something very wrong with the car. And let's go down once again to Ralph Shaheen on pit road.
Just want to answer what Rob was talking about with the sparks flying off the cars. What the drivers are telling us that they just set the cars real low to the track surface, and that's the suspension rubbing as the car bottoms out as it goes through the turns. Especially in turns 1 and 2, there's a lot of ripples in the racetrack. The rear end is out of the backside of Rick Beebe's car as well. He's back behind the wall. A lot of problems with his car, and Brian Repner also suffered some body damage to his number 5.
Elaborating just a little bit on the racetrack situation, Rob, last year when we came here, they had repaved the turn 1-2 area, but they put the pavement over top of the old pavement, and last year, if my memory serves me correctly, a lot of that pavement was coming loose, and it was really a problem. This year, they actually made cuts in the track, put brand new pavement down there, smoothed it out a lot, but it was very bumpy last year, a little less bumpy this year, and the drivers have set their cars lower and harder so that they can get around there because they don't have to have as much suspension travel, so they're rubbing them around a bit off the bank.
Mike Miller now beginning to challenge Dave Sensiva for 3rd position on the racetrack. This is called the Pontiac Excitement 300, and Mike was the best qualifying Pontiac in 5th, now beginning to work his way toward the front. This is his kind of racetrack. He likes to run the bottom, and if you can make a car stick down low all night at I-70 Speedway, you're going to have a shot at a victory.
Well, we've called him Mr. Inside in the past because of his ability to do just that. Run that number 18 machine there, the Atlantic Communications Pontiac down low. Here he is, nudging up against the back of Dave Sensiva, who sat outside row 1, Miller inside row 3. And Joe Knott, though, continues to set the pace for those two. Now Miller trying to make a move, shows him a little bit of inside there, but backs off and stays in the draft going down the backstretch.
Great battle, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th positions that you're looking at. Miller seems to be able to get off the corners a little bit better, but about the midpoint of the straightaway, it looks like Sensiva may have a slight horsepower advantage, and he then reasserts himself as they put a lap on Cindy Peterson's car number 36.
Cindy Peterson involved in an incident, as you mentioned, in qualifying, backed her car into the wall and sustained some damage, so she's just circulating out there, trying to gather up some points and do her cause well. She's limping around, I think, is more apt because the crew was not able to get that car up to 100%. 36 car of Cindy Peterson. Here's Mike Miller making a big, strong move down inside on Sensiva. But once again, Sensiva closes the door and ducks down low inside Joe Knott in the 48 machine, not trying to work his way around the outside of the 54 of Steve Scheib, the second of 3 Missouri drivers who are in this race. There are 3 home state drivers in the Pontiac Excitement 300 here.
We talked a little bit ago about Glenn Allen Jr. putting a pass on Mike Eddy. There is Mike. He's now dropped all the way back to 14th position in that GM Goodwrench car number 88. There's a problem there of some sort. Is it a tire? Who knows? He will definitely try to stay out on the racetrack if it is a tire, and I'm sure that's what he presumes it is, as long as he can, hoping for a caution before Bob Seneker catches him. And Seneker may only need another 6 or 8 laps to put Mike a lap in arrears. Remember, though, Glenn Allen twice came from laps down to win this race a year ago, so it certainly can be done.
Well, some people have said it's a young man's racetrack, and I think that might be largely due to the fact that Glenn Allen Jr. has had so much success here. He's a very aggressive young driver and certainly has figured it out. And, well, they say faster, faster, faster until the thrill of speed overcomes the fear of death or whatever. These young guys sometimes just are a little more anxious to put their foot in it out there. But look at Bob Seneker here with a record 46th pole position and a career record 78th victory. The winningest driver in ASA is showing everybody the way around this track.
Bob, of course, is ASA's all-time winningest driver, yet only a single ASA championship to his credit, that while driving for Troop Motorsports in 1990. And now having reestablished his own operation, his own team, there's nothing that Bob would enjoy more, I think, than enjoying the spoils of a title, doing his own work on his own race car. And although his season didn't start out in spectacular fashion, the last 2 races have been spectacular, in fact, for him.
Bob Seneker in the 84 following Dennis Lampman around the outside.
And guess who just went a lap down?
I was going to say, around the outside of a couple of race cars. A very notable number 88 black Goodwrench Pontiac out there just went a lap down to the leader.
John O'Neill, by the way, who came on pit road, the 4th fastest qualifier, lost 2 laps while in the pits, and he is now about a straightaway in front of Bob Seneker. May go another lap down. And look at Mike Eddy fighting for control off turn number 4. It's entirely possible, too. And I think when push comes to shove, we're going to find out he's got a cut tire. Remember, he was right behind Glenn Allen in that first second lap incident, and he's now going to bring car number 88 on pit road. Simply cannot hold on any longer.
Just can't nurse it around there anymore, and I think you'll see as we come around here and get a shot of the right front that just might be the one, the suspicious part of that car. But for sure, Ralph Shaheen is down there, and we'll have the definitive word. Ralph?
Well, you were close, Brian. It is the right side of the car that the problem is on, but it's the right rear that they feel is the one that is going down. So instead of changing the right side tires, they'll change both rear tires and fill them up with fuel. Howard Thomas, the crew chief, going to work on the left side rear tire. They've got the right side on. As soon as Howard can get this left rear on, they'll send the 7-time champion back out onto the racetrack.
I will have to be honest, Brian, if the problem was in the right rear, I still would have thought they changed the right side tires rather than both rears. So there must be something else going on, and there's got to be a reason why they chose to go rears.
Well, while we ponder the question of why the 7-time ASA champion has changed both rear tires instead of right sides, but the problem was on the right rear, we will take a break from the action here, give you a chance to look at some messages, and we'll be right back.
High-performance sports car technology and combine it with the #1 name in motorhomes, and what do you get? The exciting new Rialta from Winnebago Industries, the official motorhomes of NASCAR. The fuel-efficient Rialta features front-wheel drive maneuverability, great towing capacity, a unique floor plan, and is fully self-contained. So whether you're following the NASCAR circuit or enjoying America, the Rialta is built for you. For more information, call 1-800-643-4892. The new Rialta, it's more than a motorhome.
Mother's California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restorers. Carnauba Wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California California Gold. There's no shine like Mother's.
At I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri, number 81, Harold Fair, who blew an engine in qualifying, has experienced some mechanical difficulty, not nearly as fatal to the automobile as the one before, but something is definitely seriously bad wrong with the number 81 car.
And if you were with us last Saturday night at Jennerstown, Harold Fair destroyed a car in a crash. This was nothing but bare bones at the beginning of this week, and a whole bunch of folks have worked tirelessly throughout the course of the week to put the car on the track tonight. You know, when you're really working like that feverishly, you never know if you get everything tightened right or if everything is battened down the way it should be. And Harold did have problems with the engine in practice. He told us before the race started he really didn't know how long it was going to last. Obviously, he's not dumping any fluid on the racetrack where we would have seen a caution.
Well, this would be a great race for the lead if Dennis Lampman was racing against Bob Seneker for first position. But in fact, Lampman in the number 9 automobile there has been leading, has been in front of, I should say, Bob Seneker for quite a few laps. These two have been racing around through the field in tandem. Lampman in the barricade flasher Ford there is about to go a lap down if Seneker can get around him. And Seneker, in turn, is about a straightaway ahead of the race. A great race, I might add, for second place.
That just continues unabated. Joe Knott has not been able to give up that position to Mike Miller, and that's why we've kind of focused in on the leader. There it is. Joey Knott still running in second position. Lap after lap, we see Miller be able to get a fender alongside, but can't pull off the pass. Either Knott pulls him going into the corner, or they'll come upon a piece of lap traffic, just like they did there with Eddie Sharp in car number 50.
It looked like Mike Miller was hoping Eddie Sharp would ease up a little bit, give him a run down the inside, and he has tried every way to get around Joe Knott. There has been the outside and the inside, and Joe Knott is tenaciously hanging on to second place there, while Mike Miller tries to get around. Likewise, coming up from behind, we have seen a number of drivers who have been challenging for that position. Right now, the race for seconds is principally between the 48 car of Joe Knott and the 18 of Mike Miller, although now moving into the picture strongly is Tony Raines in the Baker Enterprises clean burn Pontiac. A little bit of Pontiac excitement going on here in the race for second. Now Miller does finally get around the 48 car of Joe Knott, and looks like he's headed for the front.
He said, the heck with the low line, I'm going to try the top side, and he came scooting off turn number 4, all sliding sideways and picked up that spot.
Well, who else have we seen that? Try the low side, show him the low side, show him the low side, then drive around the outside. That's what Seneker did last week to Mike Eddy.
Well, there's Joe Knott third, Tony Raines is fourth, and we've got a spin. It looks like
that's BB's car number 6 going around up there on the lead.
Billy Turner in car number 58.
Similar paint scheme
who spun right in front of the second place car.
Here comes a piece of tubing or something rolling down the track there. Hopefully everybody will be able to stay away from that. The 58 car, Bill Turner of El Reno, Oklahoma, in the Central Fiber Sooner Speed Chevrolet. While we watch that car, let's go once again to Ralph Shaheen down on pit road.
Well, Brian, you see the power plant inside Jeff Neal's car there. It's called the Duke. The reason why they call it that is because it's normally a pretty strong motor. What went wrong with the power plant tonight?
That first wreck, I think some debris came off and went through the radiator, and I really wasn't aware of it, and the car was handling great, and then the motor started running slower and slower, and then I started smelling she was starting to burn up, and looked down at the gauges, and it already spit the water out and cooked the motor, I'm afraid.
Here's how easy it is, gentlemen. Look right down here. This is the area that protects the radiator. See the hole? Right through there, back into the Duke. Jeff Neal's day is done.
Another tough break for a fine driver and a good-looking race car out there. Just like that, things go from good to bad. And we'll be right back with more as we sit at 60 laps out of 300.
You fill up my senses.
His unforgettable songs touched a whole generation.
It's good to be back.
Now, Heartland Music presents the very best of your favorite John Denver songs.
Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Thank God I'm a
But remember,
Rocky Mountain High.
it's not in stores. So order now. Call 1-800-522-5333. Use your credit card or send check or money order for $16.98 for records or cassettes or $19.98 for 2 CDs, plus $3 shipping to John Denver, P.O. Box 5055, Department 72, New York, New York.
Summer is on the horizon, and Prime is jumping into June. We'll set new goals and get our kicks with the APSL. Then go for gold with Prime Olympic Odyssey. Also, scrumming in June. Pride is on the line as countries compete in the Rugby World Cup. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, Prime Racing burns with ASA, NHRA, and SCCA Trans Am coverage. Prime is definitely jumping for June, not to mention joy.
I-70 Speedway, just off the interstate and east of Kansas City, Missouri, outside the town of Odessa, is where we are racing here tonight. And here's a look at the Hooters Super Cup point standings as we glanced at them at the start of this race. Mike Eddy in control, of course, so far, but that is no longer the case here tonight.
Well, that's why we're taking another look at this. We talked about Mike Eddy having one bad race and that could really shake things up. About 20 points separating him and Gary St. Amant. That's about 22 positions on the racetrack. Gary's still running solidly in the top 10, and Mike Eddy, he's 3 laps off the pace. So we could leave here tonight, as dominant as Mike Eddy has been, with a change at the top in the point standings. Bob Seneker could help his cause pretty dramatically. However, talk about drama with Jeff Neal dropping out. He'll probably drop out of the top 10. We certainly will. Seneker has been on pit road with a flat left rear tire under caution, so we've got a brand new leader.
Well, he did not lose a lap. That is the good news for Bob Seneker. He was able to get in and get a tire change without going a lap down, but he has relinquished the lead to Mike Miller, the number 18 Atlantic Communications Pontiac. Joe Knott, the number 48 machine right behind him. Knott's Allen Knott Valvoline Ravy Ford Thunderbird sitting in second spot. And then it's the 87 of Tony Raines at the Baker Enterprises Clean Burn Pontiac. So we got a pair of Pontiac bookends around the 48 Thunderbird of Joe Knott.
Sensiba is 4th. Rookie J.D. Summers runs 5th. Glenn Allen Jr. 6th. Brad Loney from 17th at the start to 7th. Rick Miller is 8th. Bobby Gill runs 9th. Brian Refner 10th. Rounding out the top 15 are Scott Hansen, Bill Baird, Brett Bell, Harold Fair, and Pat Bordeaux.
Real quick, a couple of things that come to mind. As you mentioned before, moving up 10 spots was Summers, and moving up 10 spots also was Brad Loney from 17th to 7th, Summers from 15th to 5th. And you mentioned Hansen. Real quick, he's in a Thunderbird this week, and he said the reason was he felt like this was a horsepower racetrack. Elaborate a little bit more on that.
What he shared with me was he tested both the Ford and the Chevy at Kaukauna Speedway in Wisconsin, track where we'll race a little bit later. And he said the Ford was about 0.2 of a second faster in short runs, and then the Chevy would remain really consistent while the lap times would fall off for the Ford. Thinking that this would be a race of fits and starts with a lot of caution flags, he said, I'm going to bring the Ford. It's got more horsepower, and I think we're going to be having short green flag runs. As J.D. Summers has picked up a position along with Glenn Allen Jr., as Dave Sensiba has dropped back a couple of spots in front of him.
I think debris on the racetrack is going to continue to be a little bit of a story here. They laid down some, of course, during qualifying and practice, and through the race here now, we've seen a couple of incidents that have done that. Ralph Shaheen with some more thoughts from down on pit road.
Brian, I just want to update you as to why they changed 2 rear tires on Mike Eddy. They knew it was a rear tire that was going flat. They weren't sure it was the right rear. They changed both. That way they took care of the one that would possibly be the problem. It eventually was the right rear.
Better safe than sorry, and a good decision by Howard Thomas and the crew of the 88 Goodwrench Pontiac.
And Mike Eddy will throw caution to the wind at this point in the race. He's behind the 5th place car number 15 of Glenn Allen Jr. He'd like to pass the 4 cars in front of him and get at least one of his laps back. And I don't think Glenn will contest him too hard. He's got to have been in contact with his crew chief. He knows that Mike is at least a couple of laps off the pace and he'll let him go.
Mike Eddy sure made that look easy, and Glenn was trying to keep him back there, but I think you're exactly right. Glenn Allen's on the lead lap, and Mike Eddy is not. That's pretty simply the difference between those 2 cars we're looking at right now. Mike Eddy in the 88, Glenn Allen Jr. in the number 15. Attrition has taken its toll in this race already. A number of cars sitting down on pit row in the infield behind the wall. Ralph has more.
We told you that bottoming out on the racetrack can be tough on your race car. This is the entire exhaust system off of Bill Turner's machine. It vibrated it, bounced it, beat it right off the bottom of his car. His day is done.
That'll cause some sparks out there. The whole exhaust system comes off. And we're going to take another cut away from the action with Georgia driver Mike Miller in the Atlantic Communications Pontiac number 18 leading this race, inheriting it from Bob Seneker. That's the way it is right now. We'll be back.
Over the years, I've seen a lot of winners on the track, Walter, Petty, and Wallace. I know that to be a winner, you need top performance, and that's why I recommend Engine, Restorer, and Lubricant. Designed for older, high-mileage cars and trucks, its unique formula reduces oil burning and increases compression and horsepower to renew your engine and improve performance to near original levels. Take it from an old pro. For renewed engine performance, go with a winner, Engine Restorer.
Prime, serving America's great sports networks.
Just a reminder, when you need them, we got them.
The AC-Delco Challenge Series is the premier short track racing series, and it has joined forces with Short Track Racing Magazine, the premier publication geared to short track racing fans. For subscription information, call 1-800-468-7876. Short Track Racing Magazine.
Miller continues to lead the race in car number 18, and right in his gun sights now is Gary St. Amant in the Wins Ford Thunderbird, car number 7. St. Amant came in with Bob Seneca under the last caution period to make some changes to the race car. Gary came out in front of Bob. Now he's in jeopardy of going a lap down. Mike Miller's lead is not substantial. Right behind him is Joe Knott. Then it is Tony Raines, and right behind Raines is Mike Eddy, trying to get back one of the 3 laps that he lost on pit road.
Joe Knott trying to look down low on Mike Miller the way Miller was doing to Joe Knott a while ago. Dennis Lampman is going a lap down to the leader Mike Miller right here. Lampman had been in front of Bob Seneca. We're watching Seneca's straightaway length lead, which evaporated as Seneca went into the pit to change, so now he's buried back in the field. Miller leads. St. Amant goes, well, almost goes a lap down. Now they're alongside, and Mike Miller drops back a little bit from the number 7 car there of Gary St. Amant. Now we're under caution because Dr. Yale Conley has a tire rolling down towards the inside wall while his car is stuck up on the outside.
And unfortunately, this is the second incident involving Dr. Conley today. Earlier, when it was in his own car, this is the backup machine for Dave Sensema that now sits against the outside retaining wall. Didn't see what happened, but we did see Rick Miller hit the tire that came off that right front corner of Dr. Conley's automobile.
An expensive weekend so far for the racing surgeon from West Virginia. He appears to be okay, moving around inside the car. A couple of fans going down there for a closer look at a race car that is definitely cosmetically challenged.
And this car has been occupied a couple times this season and will be again by open-wheel veteran Kenny Irwin, who drove it last weekend at Jennerstown, also competed in it at Indianapolis Raceway Park, and expects to be behind the wheel yet some additional times this season. And there's the leader, Mike Miller, in car number 18, the Atlanta Communications Pontiac. And for the Pontiac Excitement 300 crowd on hand, they've got to be happy with the early performance of that race car.
One of the ASA officials going up to check on Dr. Yale Conley as well. There's the wheel and tire that came off Dr. Conley's car, Yale Conley's number 3 machine, and the Simonton Windows Valvoline Chevrolet. He is one of the ones still running a Chevy Lumina. We have 4 Chevy Monte Carlos in the race. We had 5 last week. The one absent, of course, that of Scott Hansen, who switched to a Thunderbird for reasons we have elaborated on earlier. And there we see some action down on pit road. Notably, Gary St. Amant in there trying to rectify whatever his problems are. Bob Seneca in again. What's the story there? And, of course, number 5 is Brian Refner, who comes back out behind Bob Seneca.
There's Bobby Gill also in the JV Gill in car number 2. This is his first start in this race car and his first time in the new generation ASA race car. This is a brand new from the ground up car in 1992. Car owners Jim and Debbie Daly have had several drivers in this car, and they think they might have found the one that's going to be a front runner for them.
Well, a lot of people watching the Hooters Cup Series this season might agree with them, as Bobby Gill has won a couple of those races. Let's go down to pit road. Ralph Shaheen.
Well, last year's Rookie of the Year, Dave Sensema, thought he had a tire going down as well, so they've gotten lucky due to this yellow. They brought him in, changed both right-sized tires. Now he just killed it. Gets it fired up and brings it back out onto the racetrack.
Well, things will definitely be shuffled up a little bit here behind leader Mike Miller. He is directly behind the pace car. Joe Knott in the number 48 machine challenges in second spot and will do so at the restart. Third is Tony Raines, and we will take another cut away from the relative lack of action here at I-70 Speedway under caution and be right back with racing.
The top stories and the final word in racing with the highlights and the lowlights. If it's got a motor and somebody races it, chances are you'll find it on Pit Road. The Preview, Thursday nights on this regional sports network.
I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri, the site of the Kansas City Pontiac dealers Pontiac Excitement 300, the ASA AC-Delco Challenge Series, America's premier short track racing series. Here's the reason we are under caution. Yale Conley, his second automobile for the weekend, being towed off the racetrack after he connected with the outside wall. A lot of young fans up there taking a look at the car. A lot of young fans who would be young racers. And now it's time for our weekly Young Racers feature. Here's Josh Duvall.
Hi, I'm Josh Duvall, and this week's Young Racer comes from Stephen Adams of Denver, Colorado. And he's here with us this weekend to ask us questions. So there you go, Stephen.
What does a black flag with a white X in it mean?
We went to ASA's flagman, Roger Slack, for the answer.
Thanks, Stephen. That's a great question. When ASA first introduced this black flag with the white X on it, a lot of the drivers thought that it meant there's a dead skunk in the middle of the track. What it actually means is that if a driver has a problem out there and we black flag him, he has 3 times to come into the pit area. If he ignores the black flag 3 times, on the 4th time by, he receives this black flag with the white X on it. And what this flag means is that their scorecard has been pulled and they're no longer being scored while they're out on the track. It's a great question.
If you have a question, send it to me at The Young Racers, P.O. Box 26792, Charlotte, North Carolina 28221.
I thought looking at black and white, it was an indication that you were just about to get lapped again by Mike Eddy. But I like Roger's first explanation.
A fair guess, and he absolutely crushed me because I believed with all my heart that it meant that there was a skunk in the racetrack.
You did.
Let's go once again down to Ralph Shaheen, who is with Brandon Sperling.
Brandon Sperling's car's in the pits here. They're working on the Ultra Wheels backed entry. He has a problem with his steering, so they're trying to adjust that to make the car handle better for Brandon so he can get around this tricky half mile. We also want to update you on Tom Jones and his Velpro car. He had a problem with his battery. Actually, they're chasing an electrical problem. They fixed everything but the battery, so they took advantage of the length of yellow, brought him in and changed batteries, which is a bit of a tricky problem. You got to take the left rear tire off and dive inside the car to get the battery. They did that and were able to get the tire back on and get him back in.
Tom Jones in the number 0 car, the Felpro Pacejacks Pontiac. Of course, his travails were last week.
And the travails continued this week as he tried to rebuild this race car. Now, this just shows you the camaraderie among ASA drivers. He said Jeff Neal came over and spent 3 full days personally working with him to get the car back in shape. He said, had it not been for Jeff, I flat would not be racing this weekend.
Well, and had it not been for Tom Jones, Mike Miller wouldn't have been racing last weekend because Tom gave him the whole front end off his Pontiac when his own car was not able to go. Just about every crew on pit road was down there helping out. That's the way it is in ASA racing. Here's J.D. Summers' machine up and down in pit road. And let's go once again down to Ralph Shaheen.
Well, it was a flat right side tire for J.D. Summers. Looks like it was a flat right rear. So apparently there's still a lot of debris out on the racetrack.
And J.D. Summers was in 4th position when he came on pit road. We've seen most of the front runners electing to stay out as long as they can. We're just not quite a third of the way into this race. Mike Eddy would like nothing more than to see everybody in front of him come in and pick up a lap. He sits 4th in line, 3 laps plus 3 cars out of the lead at this juncture.
I learned in college in physics that an object at rest will remain so unless acted upon by an outside force. That debris isn't going to just go away unless it's blown off the track by the race cars, unless somebody goes out there and picks it up. So there's a lot of stuff laying around out there. I still think it's going to continue to be a problem. At 97 laps into this 300-lap race, green flag once again.
And ASA has spotters all the way around this racetrack, eagle-eyed, doing nothing but looking for debris on the race course. So it must be very small pieces. And look at this mass of cars at the front of the field. Mike Miller continues to lead, but Joe Knott is giving him fits. And then it's the Pontiacs of Tony Raines and Mike Eddy. Eddy wants to get by all of them and set sail for pick up another lap.
Mike Eddy is 3 laps down as we speak, so he is not in contention for the lead in this race. But anytime Mike Eddy shows up in a race, he's going to be a factor. Mike Miller, and as you said there in 2nd spot, is Joe Knott, who was passed earlier, then Tony Raines. Mike Eddy 3 laps down, and the 4th car in that lead quintet is Glenn Allen Jr., the winner of this race a year ago.
Just out of screen and closing in 6th is car number 33, Brad Loney. There he is. You saw him just coming out of turn number 4 as the leaders were exiting that 4th turn and heading onto the straightaway. And here comes Tony Raines. Remember, that's the line that Mike Miller used to get around Joe Knott earlier. And Raines looks like he's going to make it work for one spot. And now it looks like he'll put the heat on Miller.
And Mike Eddy following Tony Raines around the outside of Joe Knott there. Fake left, go right. It has worked a couple of times, and apparently it has worked again, this time for Tony Raines, who takes over 2nd spot.
Well, everyone expected Tony to go extremely well in this race car. The Baker Motorsports entry that was piloted twice to victory last season in dominating fashion by Steve Holtzhausen, parting of the ways between Steve and car owner Terry Baker. Raines got his big break and didn't come out of the gate too fast, but now he's showing exactly what he's capable of as he takes the lead away from Mike Miller.
Raines made no inside fake there this time, just drove around the outside and took Mike Eddy with him. So Mike Eddy has gotten his lap back from all but one driver, and that is Tony Raines, who is our new leader here right at the 100 lap mark in the Pontiac Excitement 300.
And now Glenn Allen has gotten by Joe Knott and is working on Mike Miller for 2nd position. But this is the interesting story right here. Can Mike Eddy pick up a lap? And I don't know how long, if I were Tony Raines, I would mess around with Mike Eddy.
Whoa, Mike Eddy tripped way up high there for just a quick second, maybe trying to get a run down low, going down into turns 3 and 4 here. But again, like Glenn Allen, who moved over and let Mike Eddy go by because they were 3 laps apart essentially on the racetrack, that might be the prudent thing for Tony Raines to do as well. But 200 laps from now, would a decision like that come back to haunt him?
I don't know. I think what Tony will do is just drive his line. He knows where his car works on the racetrack. He knows that Mike Eddy certainly is a talented enough racer to not put both of them in jeopardy. That wouldn't do either of them any good. So Tony will run his line and make Mike force the issue by picking the quick way around for himself.
Good hard racing here as the leaders put a lap on Brandon Sperling, whose troubles we chronicled just a little bit ago in the Ultra Custom Wheels Baja Chevrolet now. Sperling fades back and the 2 cars that are contending for the lead in this race. And Mike Eddy, who's 3 laps down, trying to make it 2, goes to the inside. Dave Anspaugh up there just ahead of him. And Tony Raines driving a very clean line around the racetrack. I'd have to agree, Rob, that you've called it on that one. Tony's just driving the track and not driving against Mike Eddy.
Just a couple of years ago, that's exactly what Jay Sauter was doing late in the race. And Jay ended up in the tire barrier, or Mike Eddy ended up winning the race. But that was about a lap and a half, I think, from the checkered flag. So Mike will make every attempt to get by, no doubt about it, but Tony's not going to make it easy. He doesn't care how many laps Mike Eddy is in arrears. He knows that every lap Mike picks up puts him that much closer to being a threat for a win.
We still see sparks popping off some of the cars as they go into the turns, and that once again is a function of the high banking here and the G-forces, the inertia that acts upon those cars. Mike Eddy gets himself unlapped now, so he is only 2 laps down. He can hope for a caution at this point, of course, and bunch the field back up. And Mike Miller made a real quick dart around Tony Raines there to retake the lead in the race.
Boy, that was a good move by Mike Miller. He knew that Eddy was going to open a hole eventually, tucked right in behind the black car for 88 and waited for the opportunity. It came, and he now has retaken the lead. Now, is Mike Miller going to try to get back around Mike Eddy?
I'm not so sure. Well, if he could, he'd certainly have a great buffer in between himself and anybody else that might be trying to come up, because you know Mike Eddy is going to do everything he can to keep anybody from getting around. But Eddy's going to try to preserve that position in front of Mike Miller, I would say, as hard and fast as he can, because what he's got to hope for now is a caution. He can come around to the tail end of the field and race 2 laps down from the back of the field instead of 2.99 laps down from right in front of the leader.
Now, once again, the top 7 cars are nose to tail around the racetrack. Mike Miller is the leader in 2nd position. Tony Raines, then it's Joe Knott. Glenn Allen Jr. Brad Loney runs 5th. 6th is Scott Hansen, and closing fast, about to go a lap down just prior to the last caution. In 7th spot is now Bob Seneca.
Bob Seneca went into the pits twice to correct his problems, and problems have jumped up twice. Dr. Yale Conley in his number 3 car, Ralph Shaheen, is down there with him.
Well, he climbed out of the ambulance. Are you okay? What happened to you? What happened to you, Yale?
The right hub broke and the wheel come off the car, and I just hit the wall, full bore. Just took a hard lick. It's real unfortunate. Tore 2 cars up this weekend. Been having a good year so far. I want to thank my sponsor, Simon, and my wife for putting up with all this.
Gentlemen, it sounds like we have another incident on the racetrack now.
And And that incident involves not the backup car that Yale Conley just talked about, but the primary car of Dave Sensiba in the wall at 115 laps into this race. We'll take a break and come right back to the Pontiac Excitement 300.
Hey, what do these songs have in common? Give up? They're all on Totally 80s. Greatest hits from the decade when communism died and music videos were born. 40 awesome songs on 2 CDs or cassettes, including...
People rocking, hear people chanting, feeling hot, hot, hot.
Walk like an Egyptian.
If you went to the store and bought all of these hits on CD, it'd cost you over $400. Didn't the 80s teach us about overspending? Be smart. Get Totally 80s.
To order, call the number on your screen or send check or money order. 2 CDs, $24.99. 2 cassettes, $19.99. Order now.
Race fans, enter the Pocono MBNA NASCAR MasterCard Fantasy Sweepstakes and win trips for 2 to the July 16th Miller Genuine Draft 500, plus the GMC Pace Truck.
The August 5th Brickyard 400 at Indianapolis.
And the 1996 Daytona 500.
Plus $5,000 in cash.
Apply for a NASCAR MasterCard by calling 1-800-937-POCONO and automatically enter the sweepstakes.
Or to enter the sweepstakes, just send your name, address, and phone number to the address on the screen.
For a complete set of rules and a free Pocono Raceway brochure, call 1-800-RACEWAY.
At I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri, the fans are up and trying to take a look over into Turn 2 area where Dave Sensiba has parked his car there in a fashion not by design, and the crews are trying to work on fluids running out of the track. Dave has not gotten out of the car yet. And here's a look at what happened to the number 4 car.
Well, you can see he is on top of the wall, almost out of the ballpark. That's in turn number 2. Again, the car tries to get up and out on a couple of occasions. It almost looked like that race car didn't even want to be here anymore. The wall is extremely low. That's where we shot the open of our show. It only hits you just about at the waist of your race car. Now, Dave is moving around in the car. Now he has climbed out. He's right behind that track worker and the ASA official being attended to. He apparently is okay, but he took a very, very hard ride, and nobody in the immediate vicinity actually saw what created the incident or created the accident. So I'm sure once Dave catches his breath, he'll be back down in the infield, and Ralph will get an update from Dave himself.
They're trying to get the car hooked up and off the racetrack. Again, backing into the wall, some people have said, is a lot worse than if you take it going in the correct direction. And of course, Dave Sensiba not having a whole lot of luck seeing where his car was going. Behind the wall, the list grows longer, and the most recent addition at the bottom there is the number 4 car of Dave Sensiba. We mentioned it has been an expensive weekend for Yale Conley, who took his own car and Sensiba's backup car to the wall, and now Sensiba takes his primary car. It's been tough on those white cars, and there's Dave Sensiba with some track folks, not looking as good as he might. We'll come back in just a little while and update you.
Goodyear wins the Indy 500.
It's the greatest race in the world, and winning it gives you a feeling you just can't imagine. Just incredible. Unbelievable. And we had exactly what we needed to get to the finish line first, including our Goodyear Eagles, the tires that know how to win at Indy.
Goodyear, number 1 at the Indy 500 24 years straight.
In my lifetime, there's only been one tire legend at Indy, and that's Goodyear.
Vitamins do for your body, VitaWins does for your car.
Racing Electronics is the official supplier of electronic equipment for the American Speed Association. Whether it's ASA, NASCAR, SCCA, or NHRA, racers and race fans alike depend on Racing Electronics. The same electronic gear that your favorite race teams use is available to you. Just call 1-800-272-7111 and a representative will send you a free full-color 32-page catalog. Call 1-800-272-7111 for Racing Electronics, racing's leading supplier of electronic equipment.
Hear all of baseball's news straight from the source. Old-timers, all-stars, and celebrities all get a say when Ed's the host and you're talking baseball. Ed Randall's Talking Baseball. Hear all the chatter all season on this regional sports network.
Welcome back to I-70 Speedway. There you can see the skies over the racetrack are clear. We don't have any real threat of rain here, apparently by those that know. And the I-70 Speedway, the Pontiac Excitement 300, brought to you by the Kansas City Pontiac dealers. We've got some real excitement going on out there on the racetrack, or have certainly through the course of the first 120 some odd laps in this race. There is the machine of Dave Sensibiv being taken away by wreckers working in tandem. These guys are good at this, and I guess they get good at it, don't they? We have a special guest up here in the booth with us. He is Bobby Archer, who joins us now for some insight and some thoughts as only a race car driver can provide. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you very much.
We would certainly prefer to see Bobby Archer, of course, down there on the racetrack doing what we think he does best anyway, which is drive the car.
Well, you know, it's a little frustrating sitting up in the stands watching the race.
Well, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty with Bobby Archer. We'll get him here. Believe me, he is here physically. We're just the miracle of modern technology has let us down for the moment, but I'm sure we'll be working that up real quick, and you will be. We can hear Bob just fine, but fortunately, those of you at home cannot. The tandem wreckers there are taking Dave Sensibiv's car off the racetrack. Seems as though they've got everything pretty well spruced up there on the outside of turn number 2, just about where the pavement changes from new to old.
Meanwhile, Brian, most of the leaders have been on pit road. Several drivers had made earlier stops. That means that Brian Revner, who finished runner-up a week ago, has inherited the lead in car number 5. Gary St. Amant, who was one of the drivers in serious danger of going a lap down early, is now in 2nd position, and rookie Pat Bordeaux is 3rd. Fellow rookie J.D. Summers is 4th in car number 22, and the 3rd rookie in the top 5, Brett Bell, who's having a great run, rides in the 5th position. And Brett is at a serious disadvantage here. He has to exit the racetrack to come onto his pit from the back stretch because only 30 stalls exist on the main straightaway, and he didn't qualify in the top 30. So a tremendous run for Brett Bell to 5th in spite of real adversity based upon where his pit location is in the infield.
We're not sure exactly how that situation will change, of course, as the race plays out, and those drivers that are out there on the racetrack that did not come in will have to do so. The real story, we'll get to it in just a moment, is right now we're going to go down to Ralph Shaheen with some further thoughts on the situation.
Well, I just want to add a little bit more to the Brett Bell story. You know, Brett Bell is a former Copper World winner, which says a lot. If you can win the Copper World, you're one of the best short track stock car drivers. And I think that just says a lot about how stiff the competition is this year. Brett has been battling all season long to get up into the middle. As we go back to green, he has finally achieved that goal today.
As the green flag drops, the head of the parade, you might say, behind the pace car involves a couple of drivers who are down. There was the leader, or there is the car of the former leader, Mike Miller. Now we go up and take a look at the 02 machine, of course, of Johnny Spawn of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the Tony's Pizza entry. And around the outside comes new leader, Brian Revner.
Gary St. Amant, of course, in the Winsport Thunderbird in 2nd position. For a while, we had Pontiacs running in 4 of the top 5 spots. Now it's a couple of Fords pacing the field, but still a long way to go as we're just 125 laps into this one.
Gary St. Amant losing ground pretty quickly there to Revner on the restart. Revner got a great jump out of there in the structural transport Ford Thunderbird. And there's Pat Bordeaux also running hard up in the top 3 right now in number 44 car. Bordeaux, who had been buried back in the field for a while in the BASF Finish Master Chevrolet, is just coming into the picture there in 3rd spot. Revner leads. And let's talk quickly about Bob Seneker, who's back here. We'll get a glimpse of him in a minute. Boy, did he make up some ground in the pits.
He had an excellent pit stop. Came in running 7th. Among the leaders who came on pit road, he had the 2nd best pit stop. He came out right behind Mike Miller. So those who chose the last caution flag to make their first pit stop, the best stop, belonged to Mike Miller's car number 18, it appears.
Miller's crew has been working very hard on pit stops, and they've gotten them down into the 10, even high 9-second range. That's world class. They've been doing a lot of testing on the car at the Peach State Speedway down in Georgia. We have a pair of Georgia drivers here, of course, with the addition of Bobby Gill. So a couple of Southern drivers in what is primarily a Midwestern, dominated by Midwestern drivers. In fact, there are 9 Michigan drivers, 6 from Wisconsin, 3 from right here in Missouri, and then the other 16 states represented in the American Speed Association here tonight are spread pretty evenly with a driver or 2 two from another dozen or so places. Now we're going to try once again to welcome Bobby Archer to our booth here. Bobby Archer, race car driver, and we're certain, Bobby, that you've got some thoughts on this race already. First of all, welcome, and second of all, what do you think so far as we nudge up to 130 laps in?
Well, thanks, Brian. You know, it's been just a very, very quickly paced race, and it's really hard for me to sit here not being part of it. You know, I've been part of the other races, and we just couldn't raise sponsorship to keep on going, so we had to back up and regroup. And on my way back to Dallas, I figured I'd stop off and watch the race.
Well, Bobby, I know the Archer brothers have had a major name in automobile racing, predominantly in road racing, the SCCA, IMSA, and whatnot over the years. You have championships to your credit. What brought you to ASA, and what keeps you coming back, even though the sponsorship has not yet been found?
Well, you know, we felt that our road racing background, we went about as far as we could, and I did a couple of ASA races last year, my first one being Brainerd, and I just really like the presentation, I like the format, and you've got real good fans in the stands, and a good series sponsor that really stays involved. And I felt that I had all the ingredients to continue my career.
Bobby, for someone who's cut his teeth on road circuits, is it boring to run ovals to you, or does it present its own type of challenge? I was kind of a leading question.
No, it's very exciting. You know, you're turning 16, 17-second lap times, so the learning curve is very steep, but I found that the level of drivers was very good. You know, the level of car preparation is very good, and you know, it's all racing.
Any particular moment stand out in your mind? Have you experienced some real excitement on an occasion that you can share with us here through the course of your career with ASA?
Well, yeah, we were racing at IRP about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I had 5 laps to go, and I had a right front tire blowout with no warning at all into the wall, and I'll remember that one for a while. You know.
That's kind of a downside piece of excitement. Watching here tonight, another question that I started to open up just earlier. Do you have a capsule view of what's been going on here tonight? Any real images stick out in your mind? Anything you can help us look a little more clearly at here as we continue with the Pontiac Excitement 300?
Well, from my observation, you know, I thought that Seneca really had it covered, and then he made an early pit stop, which I thought was uncharacteristic for him. You know, and then I saw Mike Miller running so strong, and you think, geez, there's Mike again. But now it looks like he's actually backing up. So I really haven't caught the pulse. You know, it looks like there's about 10 different versions of strategy out there. But I don't know. You know, in fact, right now I don't even know who's in the lead.
We've been watching a race
for 8th. You do belong in the race car and not in the booth.
We're watching a race for 8th and 9th. I had been kind of glancing over while we're enjoying the company of Bobby Archer here in the broadcast booth, and Glenn Allen Jr. and Tony Raines. It appears, though, Tony is kind of checked out now, and Scott Hansen has come around and perhaps on his way up there to challenge Tony Raines. Mike Eddy, no matter where there's racing going on the racetrack, we're going to find Mike Eddy. He's a couple of laps down. He got a lap back, and now he's working his way up through the field trying to get another one.
You know, as the lead pack, or that pack went by us, the pack that included Glenn Allen Jr. now seems to be going backward. I heard a rather unusual sound from one of the race cars, and I think he may have either lost a plug wire or maybe a header, but he has really slowed off the pace. I don't know if you could hear that, but kind of hearing it through the headphones, and we've got a car against the wall off turn number 2, and it's Rick Miller's car number 31.
Well, the leader in the rookie points chase for that $50,000 Pat Shower Memorial Rookie Battle had been very quietly and consistently performing throughout this series so far. His first spate of bad luck apparently has just struck as he's sitting backwards down on the inside by pit row just past the start-finish line.
You can see he's a bit frustrated with his plight, trying to get the car restarted, and he's had such good success here, and it's not the way he wants his night to end at I-70, his first trip to a high-banked half-line.
We're going to go right quick down to Ralph Shaheen, who's in the infield with Dave Sensiba, and we'll be back up here in just a moment. Ralph?
Well, Dave has crawled gingerly out of the ambulance where he got a checkup. Are you okay? That was one heck of a hard hit.
Yeah, we're okay. Just got bruised up and rung our bell a little bit.
What happened with the car?
I'm not sure. Either something broke or we lost the tires. I don't remember much after the hit. So.
Well, he's going to be one sore week as he gets ready for next weekend's race at Berlin.
thankfully, sometimes the recollection of just what happened to you goes away in an instant there, and it may be a while before Dave Sensen will be able to reconstruct exactly what happened to him. In any case, he's out of the race. We'd like to thank Bobby Archer, who has joined us up here in the booth for a while for some insight, and we're also going to take a break here as some of the leaders come in and out of the pit road. We'll be back to the Kansas City Pontiac Dealers Pontiac Excitement 300 in just a moment.
Whatever happened to the American dream? The dream that said hard work counted for as much as deep pockets, that if you learned the ropes and believed in yourself, you could become a sports hero without being blessed with $1 million deal. The AC-Delco Challenge Series, America's premier short track stock car series on Prime. Next Saturday, June 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Watch the Missouri 300 live. That's ASA stock car racing next Saturday on Prime. Racing Electronics is the official supplier of electronic equipment for the American Speed Association. Whether it's ASA, NASCAR, SCCA, or NHRA, racers and race fans alike depend on Racing Electronics. The same electronic gear that your favorite race teams use is available to you. Just call 1-800-272-7111 and a representative will send you a free full-color 32-page catalog. Call 1-800-272-7111 for Racing Electronics, racing's leading supplier of electronic equipment. Whatever happened to the American dream? The dream that said hard work counted for as much as deep pockets, that if you learned the ropes and believed in yourself, you could become a sports hero without being blessed with $1 million deal. The AC-Delco Challenge Series, America's premier short track stock car series on Prime. Next Saturday, June 17th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, watch the Berlin 200 live. That's ASA stock car racing next Saturday on Prime.
Hey. Welcome back, everybody, as Miss Wins is signing some autographs there. We always have a lot of folks with us here from Wins, and of course out on the racetrack, Gary St. Amant in the Wins Port City Ford Thunderbird, up and down throughout this race. We're going to see if we can figure out exactly where Gary's running right now. And of course, we'll refer to the know-it-all brothers, Torch and Zorch, with us here this week, the guys that keep us in the know, our stats guys. And we welcome also to the booth right now, Bev Olshig from Wins has joined us in the broadcast booth here while we're still circulating under yellow. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think so far? Now, we asked Bobby Archer, and he acted a little bit confused about he said he had not been able to get a pulse, get a feel for what was going on in the race. Do you have any kind of a snapshot you can share with us thus far here this evening?
Well, I think Gary was very lucky to get out of that wreck in the beginning. He kind of just got through. He got something stuck on his car. He got rid of it, and I think he's going to do great.
We probably should have said good day, mate, to you.
Yeah,
I sense that you're from down, that's from way down south.
That's right. That's right.
I think you were brand new to ASA stock car racing, and probably short track racing in general when you came on board with Gary and the Wins involvement in ASA last season. How is it, has it lived up to your expectations?
Absolutely, it's been great. I went to Pittsburgh the weekend. I made sure I came here on the way home. I only got here at 7:45, so that's the kind of feeling I have for it.
So you're not here because you have to, you're here because you want to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're looking, of course, at the race car that carries the name of your company on it out there, and Gary St. Amant with the Wins Port City Ford Thunderbird. That is a good-looking car. I got to tell you that right now. You fellas have really done a terrific job with your presence here in the American Speed Association AC-Delco Challenge Series, and we just wouldn't know what to do if it wasn't for Wins.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We really enjoy being involved with this whole event.
Of course, you also sponsor Kenny Irwin and the midgets, but Kenny is running a handful of ASA races. Was that a motivated thing by Wins to get him into an ASA machine?
Kind of. He kind of wanted, he expressed an interest last year in Busch, and we thought maybe, do a couple of races in this circuit as well. So.
What is the attachment to ASA, Ben? What exactly does it do for the company?
Well, we get a lot of exposure on TV right now, and a lot of our customers basically in the stands. These are basically our customers who come watch racing.
There's a lot of them out there tonight too. I'll tell you what, I-70 Speedway is pretty well packed to the rafters. The folks that aren't sitting in their seats are visiting the concession stands. We're just about to go back to green flag racing here, and Bev Olshig of Wins, we want to thank you for stopping in to see us, and I know you want to get back out there and watch this race.
Appreciate the chance. Thank you very much.
Thanks for visiting. We look forward to seeing you again.
Okay.
Bev Olshig from the Wins Company as the green flag is about to drop. Brian Refner in the number 5 machine out front right now in the structural transport Ford Thunderbird. Restart just past the halfway mark here. Pontiac Excitement 300.
Second position belongs to J.D. Summers, a pair of black cars with yellow and red on them, running first and second at the race. In the race at this point, Bob Seneker has come to third. Tony Raines after pit stops fourth, and car number 53, Scott Hansen, in the 5th position.
Bob Seneker has come to second now. We might add that Tony Raines challenging around the outside of Harold Fair's automobile. Actually, I'm sorry, it is still third, but he did make a move around there. And Brian Refner trying to run off again. J.D. Summers, who started 15th here today, has been so consistently fast throughout this season so far in the 4 and now 5 races that we've held in the AC-Delco Challenge for 1995. This is a very talented driver, and they have that Ford Quaker State Thunderbird well in hand underneath them.
Well, there were a lot of folks that weren't sure just how long the run would last, to be honest. Junior Hanley builds and owns the race car. Junior's a Canadian racing legend. He is to Canadian short track racing what Mike Eddy is to U.S. short track racing.
Pretty darn good.
Pretty darn good. Yeah, pretty doggone dominant, and still doing that up in Canada. He's run over the years periodically a handful of ASA races, but he has kind of taken a liking to the young man from Michigan, and it's proven to be a very formidable combination. Look at him closing on last week's runner-up, Brian Refner.
Well, Refner looked like he was opening up some ground, trying to check out. Just like that, J.D. Summers runs right up behind him. So Refner now in his Thunderbird, trying to hold off the challenges. Rookie runner-up last year, trying to hold off the challenge of a rookie contender from this season's racing.
Right behind them, Bob Seneker is trying to get a lap on car number 71, John O'Neill. John has been running very, very strongly. Came in under green, lost a couple of laps, but has been strong on the racetrack, and we're under caution as Ray Skillman has come spinning down the main stretch in car number 27 as the leaders were entering turn 4. There he is, the black, silver, and red car number 27 of Ray Skillman.
The DuPont Kendall Imperial Vans Oldsmobile, the only Cutlass in the race out there. Ray Skillman goes around and gets the car moving again. We are back under caution. The 27 car showing, well, it should be showing a little bit of damage. We're going to go down to Ralph Shaheen down in the infield once again. Ralph's busy down there tonight.
If you watch the replay, gentlemen, I believe we have it from our speed shot. You'll see Ted Smokestack, the number 32, get right up back behind Ray Skillman. He'll get right up underneath, pick the whole rear end up of Ray Skillman's car, send him around, and collect a bunch of others, including Dennis Lampman, who has extensive damage now to the left front of his car. Brian Refner will bring his number 5 in. Tom Jones is out of the event. He blew a motor. And we also wanted to update you about Rick Miller, the number 31. Rick told me he was battling with Brett Bell. He had to get on the brakes and check up. Got hit from Dennis Lampman. He says he's in the pits now, getting repairs made to his car. The Skillman got together with Smokestack. Smokestack picked him up, spun him around. Ray with big damage now.
Well, unfortunately, our speed shot really didn't give us a clear perspective on what happened there. So, Ralph, we'll just take your word for it.
Dennis Lampman going back out on the track, minus the multicolored nose on his number 9 car, the Barricade Flasher Ford. Here's Ray Skillman, the man who was most involved in the incident, but seems to be among the least damaged by the incident. So under caution, we will once again take a break away from the action, give you a chance to look at some important messages, and return in a moment.
It's the variety hour of power. See who's running hot and who's not running. Gear up and lap the racing field with us on Motorsports Hour by Chevrolet. Thursday nights on this regional sports network.
Motorhome facilities for Group 5 sports and the AC-Delco Challenge Series here at I-70 Speedway are provided by Winnebago Industries. For more information about Winnebago, call 1-800-643-4892 from wherever you are. Those lucky fans fortunate enough to join us here at the I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri are really enjoying their evening. Enjoying it for a lot of reasons, not the least of which we've had incidents on the racetrack. We've had pit stop strategies that have started to shuffle the field around a little bit here as we work our way into the last third of the race, the third period, as it were, of this 300-lap event. There's Dennis Lampman, who came in, changed the left front tire. You can still see the sticker going around on that left front there, and most of the nose off the car. That's a familiar sight, actually, for the Gentle Giants number 9 car. We've seen him cosmetically challenged a number of times this season again.
Well, we did I think we did finally, over this ensuing week, get this issue of the door handle, racing door handle, the door handle settled. Did we not?
There might be just a few people out there following the thread of this story of the door handle to door handle thing. And you know, we've given the know-it-all brothers, Torch and Zorch, this week we have with us. Scorch is back home taking care of whatever he takes care of when he's not at the racetrack. And these guys, talk about dedicated race fans, Rob. I mean, they go and get rental cars, which they were quick to remind us, in fact, have door handles. But these guys are such race fans, they climb out through the windows anyway.
I think that was just to make you feel good. They know real race cars don't have door handles, but even Emerson Fittipaldi, I think he says they're out there racing door handle, door handle.
And Craig and Todd, the two Miller brothers that we're talking about here, even they shop around when they go to get a rental car. They've been asking for years now for one with the window nets in, and no one's been able to accommodate them yet.
And of course they have to be GM products. I mean, they'll settle for nothing less since this is the AC-Delco Challenge Series. Meanwhile, it's a Ford Thunderbird up in front. That is the car number 22 of J.D. Summers. Pit stops have really shuffled things. Now in his second position comes Bob Seneker, and here's a name we haven't mentioned all night long. Bill Baird is now in third position in car number 26. Good effort on the racetrack and excellent timing on his pit stops. Gary St. Amant is fourth, Mike Miller fifth, Bobby Gill is sixth. Glenn Allen Jr., I thought he had a problem. He just changed rear tires when he came in. He's seventh. Harold Fair is in eighth. We thought he had an engine going. Maybe it was just a power steering pump that we saw erupt in smoke. He runs in eighth position. In ninth is Brett Bell, and in 10th is Pat Bordeaux.
There's J.D. Summers in the 22 car, backing the number 71 off just a little bit of Johnny O'Neill, the local driver from Kansas City here. The fans have come out with high hopes of watching him qualified fourth, but his night has not really gone as well as he might have planned. A lot of shuffling around. There's Bob Seneker coming down low on Johnny O'Neill. Mike Eddy very close to trying to get back yet another lap. He was 3 down at one point. He's 2 down right now. J.D. Summers trying to check out while the rest sorted out behind him.
And believe it or not, Mike Eddy is being shown on the scorecard in 17th position, 2+ laps down on the racetrack. So, like you say, you never can count him out. And really, you can't count anybody out on this racetrack. It's just too treacherous. You got to wait till the final flag falls to make that determination.
Even 17th place, if he were to finish right there right now, would still he will have mitigated his losses somewhat in terms of the points battle, because as you mentioned before, the difference between first and second was some 20 some odd positions on the racetrack. Well, he's clawed back a half dozen of those.
Several drivers are climbing their way back into the front of the field. O'Neill is sideways and spinning off turn number 2
without incident, fortunately.
Collects the car and he'll get it righted, but the yellow very quickly displayed as a result of that spin for John O'Neill.
Also wanted to make another point about Bill Baird, who you mentioned is running in third spot. Further confirmation that Bill Baird, on that steep learning curve that Bobby Archer referred to, has made very dramatic progress. Bill Baird was certainly and also ran a field filler almost last year as he was trying to get a handle on how this is done, but he has shown us now through a combination of pit stop strategy and racing ability that he can race. And yet it's funny, Bill comes to the racetrack, all anybody wants to talk about is that Russian fighter jet that he just bought. We'll get into that maybe a little bit later on.
There's John O'Neill in the Quaker State Morton Enterprises Ford Thunderbird, as he is just making his second ASA start, and he's learning the hard way.
We have another opportunity here to pause for some commercial messages and get some business done here. Return to racing shortly. As you can see, the yellow flag is still waving.
California Gold, the finest cleaners, polishes, and finish restorers. Carnauba Wax protects and shines. Easy to apply, looks great.
California Gold, there's no shine like Mother's.
Goodyear wins the Indy 500.
It's the greatest race in the world, and winning it gives you a feeling you just can't imagine. Just incredible. Unbelievable. And we had exactly what we needed to get to the finish line first, including our Goodyear Eagles, the tires that know how to win at Indy.
Goodyear, #1 at the Indy 500 24 years straight.
In my lifetime, there's only been one tire legend at Indy, and that's Goodyear.
Hang on for the #1 bull riding show in America. Bull riders only.
Look here, boys.
Grab them by the horns every week on this regional sports network.
There are the clear skies and the full moon, or almost full moon, over Odessa, Missouri at the I-70 Speedway. We are approaching 172 laps in this race and getting ready to go green on the racetrack at 174, they're saying right now in scoring. And of course, we're getting down towards that final 100 laps, the final 50 that Glenn Allen said are the most important.
And in one respect, we're right back where we started. That is with Bob Seneca and the Johnsonville Lane Automotive Ford Thunderbird out in front. But look who's on his heels. Now, if you've just joined us, no, this isn't two veterans battling for the lead. Mike Eddy had a tire go down, made a pit stop under green, was 3 laps in arrears. He's now 2 laps down, and if he's able to get by Bob Seneca, he'll be only 1 lap off the leader's pace and still being shown in 17th position.
A very good performance by Mike Eddy and the GM Goodwrench Pontiac. Of course, we wouldn't expect anything less from the man that many people call the best short track racing driver in America, bar none. And I would have to agree, because in my limited experience, I can't even imagine anybody that could debate that title.
Of course, Mike has many times turned down offers to go down south and race in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. This is what he likes to do. He likes the short tracks. He loves his home in Michigan and being able to be with his family all week long. You have to admire a guy who's made that decision when he perhaps could have had more fame and more dollars, but he's doing exactly what he wants to do by choice.
The race for second behind Bob Seneca involves Bill Baird. We spoke of him before briefly and mentioned we opened up a little bit of a Pandora's box talking about this Russian fighter jet that he has purchased, but he enjoys being behind the wheel of that race car. The number 26 machine, Bill Baird, running in second spot right now in the Saturn Machine United Refractory Chevrolet, Gary St. Amant. And I know that Bev Olshig of Wins has got to be happy now that Gary's running up there in the top 3. Mike Miller, who had led for a while and is now fighting his way back through the field.
Well, meanwhile, Bob Seneca is just riding off into the sunset in car number 84. The surprise is that neither St. Amant, Mike Miller, nor Glenn Allen Jr. have been able to dispatch with Bill Baird as he's holding his own against these much more seasoned drivers.
Bill Baird, Gary St. Amant, Mike Miller, and Glenn Allen Jr. Glenn gave credit where credit is due, as Glenn Allen Jr. made the comment, you got to race the track for 250 laps and then race the other guys for the last 50. We're getting close to the last 100 laps in this race, and Glenn is right there being very patient. Oh, big, major puff of smoke on the backstretch out of the 44 car of Pat Bordeaux. That brings out the caution flag once again.
And I think when that engine let go, there was oil deposited on the racetrack. We saw a number of cars sliding and scooting down the backstretch. That's the reason for the caution flag. And that's a disappointment, because Pat Bordeaux in that Chevrolet Monte Carlo at one point was running in the top 5 in this race as a rookie driver.
And a tough break. You always hate to see a young driver with so much talent and getting it together, so to speak, as Pat Bordeaux has over the last several races, end up going out of the race due to mechanical failure. The yellow flag being displayed once again over the finish line here at I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri, as the number 44 car of Pat Bordeaux is being pushed behind the wall.
Maybe we can talk all night, wherever you go, whatever you do.
Hi, if your favorite kind of music is soft rock, then you should hear this new album called Lost in Love.
It's a new 4-record collection that has 36 of the best soft rock hits performed by the original artists.
You got it all over him, you got me over him. Secret lovers, who's gonna drive you home?
4 records or 2 cassette tapes are only $19.95.
2 compact discs, just $24.95.
Here's how to order.
To order Lost in Love, call 1-800-522-5333 or send $19.95 for records or cassette tapes, or $24.95 for 2 compact discs, plus $4.95 shipping and handling to the address on your screen.
We have always felt in harmony with the land.
Chakome, Tapua, the Skumuk, the Tapiachu, Kenok Honestche, Matapua, Makaspumos, Akum.
Help the Soil Conservation Service help our Earth. Call us today. We owe it to our children.
Welcome back to Odessa, Missouri. These folks are similarly trying to figure out just exactly, again, the pulse of this race, as Bobby Archer put it. It has eluded me so far. I mean, there's just a myriad of stories to be told. And we should mention that just right next door to our broadcast booth are the VIP suites. And so we have just had many, many people stopping in to see us. And now we are joined by Robert Brogdon, who we and a million other people saw. Well, he's the guy that started this whole mess. Robert, welcome to up here. The fellow that started the race off, you got down there and fired up the engines, and ever since you did that, I mean, look what's been going on.
Looks like everybody's having a lot of fun.
I would have to say we're certainly enjoying ourselves up here in the broadcast booth and watching a race that has developed very, very strangely, very irregularly. But as one of the Pontiac dealers, the Kansas City Pontiac dealers that is bringing us this Pontiac dealers excitement, well, it's been exciting.
It sure has. I tell you what, this is my first race, and I've enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. Looks like a lot of talent out there, and I don't know, maybe I want to buy one of these cars and get in the race myself.
You know, I remember, of course, my first ASA race, which many people you may recall, was in Denver at the beginning of the 1994 season, and you know the excitement has not worn off for me yet, and so I can really, I was surprised to hear that it was your first race, and I can share the excitement you must be feeling. It's just so much fun.
I'm ready to do it 2 or 3 times a year, maybe go to Indy next year.
All right.
Take us with you, would you?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, Robert, I know that Pontiac has pretty much dominated the manufacturer's points championship, with Mike Eddy being so strong this year. And yet I do understand that Pontiac Motor Division will have a brand new Grand Prix for 1996. How can it get any better?
It's great. I tell you what, we're looking forward to the new model Grand Prix. There's a lot of people at the factory here in Kansas City who build that car, and they're excited about the look of that vehicle and the performance of the vehicle. They think that it's going to be a real winner.
Well, the General Motors people, of course, continue to innovate with the Monte Carlo replacing the Lumina body here, and now you're saying Pontiac is stepping up to the plate. They're coming up with something they feel they are building a better mousetrap for the American Speed Association.
I tell you what, it's just a little bit more of that Pontiac excitement.
Well, we have had no shortage of that. This man, of course, has been at the center of a lot of the Pontiac excitement here, not only tonight, but throughout this season and 7 other championship seasons. We're talking about Mike Eddy. Quickly, we want to thank Robert Brogdon, the president and general manager of Robert Brogdon Auto Plaza, one of the many Kansas City Pontiac dealers, bringing us this Pontiac Excitement 300. Here's the top 5. We're getting close to the final 100 laps.
Live NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra-high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the UAW GM Teamwork 500 live Sunday, June 11th, 1 p.m. Eastern.
Take high-performance sports car technology and combine it with the #1 name in motorhomes, and what do you get? The exciting new Rialta from Winnebago Industries, the official motorhomes of NASCAR. The fuel-efficient Rialta features front-wheel drive maneuverability, great towing capacity, a unique floor plan, and is fully self-contained. So whether you're following the NASCAR circuit or enjoying America, the Rialta is built for you. For more information, call 1-800-643-4892. The new Rialta, it's more than a motorhome.
My grandfather was already an old man the first time I went fishing with him. My dad whispered, "Watch him cast." And I watched that line go out like a soaring bird. "Where'd he learn to do that?" I asked. "From his father," my dad said. "And from Field and Stream." And so it's been since 1895, when Field and Stream was first published.
And now you can continue the tradition with this special TV offer. Call now and get 15 issues of the best in hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation. Plus special news specifically for your area, all for this great price. Order now and you'll also get this great-looking heavy-duty Field and Stream field bag.
Just the other day, I took my boy fishing for the first time.
Call the this number now for a great price on Field and Stream. And get this roomy, sturdy field bag free with your paid subscription. Call now.
Never let it be said that timing, they say timing is everything. We have brought you back at just the exact moment that the green flag has waved once again here on the Kansas City Pontiac dealers. Pontiac Excitement 300, and we're right back where we started, as you mentioned, Rob Albright, pole sitter Bob Seneker at the lead, being challenged by Mike Eddy. It's deja vu all over again. It's like last week, these two were going after it for the win a week ago that Bob Seneker eventually emerged on top.
And Mike Eddy 2 laps off the pace in car number 88. Bill Baird, the surprise of the event so far, in second position in car number 26. Gary St. Amant third. Mike Miller is still fourth. Glenn Allen Jr. is fifth. Sixth is Scott Hansen. Brad Loney runs seventh.
Anybody among this group that you would say is on the short end of the pit stop strategy right now as we come up to the last 100 laps? Anyone you can recall that maybe needs to go in that didn't before?
Well, I think all of these drivers have been in within the 100-lap window, though you really can't tell. Tires make a big difference here at I-70. It'll depend a lot on the fall of caution flags, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the leaders in maybe one more time before the event's over.
Mike Eddy trying Bob Seneker and not having any success thus far. The most recent retiree from this race, Pat Bordeaux. Ralph Shaheen is with him.
Well, Pat, did you have any idea the motor was going to let go on you?
No, I couldn't really tell. We had a little bit of a miss, and it just kind of let loose. The BASF Finish Master Chevrolet, we was running up in the top 10. I was real happy with how the car and everything was handling, and then I guess Missouri Gremlin just bit us.
Well, gentlemen, we just saw something else happen back here that real unfortunate for Brett Bell. He had his pits in the middle of the infield here, so he pitted off the backstretch, and when he came in, he realized his crew was gone. Because so many teams had moved out of the running, his crew had moved up to the front straightaway. So he came in, they weren't there. So now he's finally caught up with his crew, and it's cost him a lot of time.
Well, he does, however, have the hood up on car number 56, so I'm not certain it would have made that much difference. I think there's obviously something amiss in car number 56.
Well, and a little bit of a track meet for the crew of the number 56 car, Brett Bell, as they're running back down to pit road where the toolbox is to get what they need to make the repairs. And apparently, as you say, because the hood is up, the problem is not as critical as it might have been. Back to the racetrack right now. Bob Seneker and Mike Eddy kind of checked out into a race of their own. Eddy trying to get a lap back. Seneker trying to run away from and hide from Bill Baird, who leads the rest of the field essentially in second spot.
What a huge surprise that none of these other drivers, who we would have expected to easily make their way around Bill Baird, have been totally unable to do so. You would think if Gary St. Amant doesn't have the horses to get the job done, that Mike Miller would have made the move earlier on Gary St. Amant. So apparently it just is a race for second place as Bob Seneker has stretched his advantage to a full straightaway over Baird and company.
Maybe flying that fighter jet has brought some racer blood a little further to boil for Bill Baird. He is just out there looking like a real veteran instead of a sophomore driver.
He had a hard crash last week, but we've noticed all season long a dramatic improvement in Bill Baird. We've seen the same in a couple of other drivers, most notably Joe Nod in car number 48. This is totally unexpected that Baird would be in second position and able to defend it with less than 100 laps to go.
I have to ask the question, though, that by defending second position and with the other drivers unable to get around Bill Baird for whatever reason, obviously the reason mainly being he's doing such a good job. In the meantime, though, Bob Seneker making a tenth of a second or two per lap, better time around the track than Bill Baird, has really run off and hid.
And he's even extending it over Mike Eddy. So Mike's second in class right now. He's the second fastest car on the racetrack. But if he can't get around the race leader, he doesn't get a lap back from the leader. So even though we've got this great battle, nose to tail, second through seventh positions on the racetrack, not working to Mike Eddy's advantage.
There is Bob Seneker in the 84, the Johnsonville Sausage Lane Automotive entry there, and Lane Auto Ford Thunderbird. Mike Eddy's right on his bumper, though, but has not been able to find a way around the Bluebird. Bob Seneker, pole sitter here for the second week in a row. As soon as they get around the traffic, look at Bob get the jump off the turn there as they come through the traffic. He got bunched up a little bit there when Seneker ran into the back of a couple of cars, ran up towards the rear end of a couple of the cars, and as soon as he got a clear track in front of him, off he went.
And once Gary St. Amant got by Bill Baird, the floodgates open for car number 26 as he's gone back several positions.
Look at floodgates. Bill Baird, Oh, up and into the wall almost there, as Baird's good fortune has now turned to bad. I guess he was, well, I don't know, as you say, once the floodgates opened, other drivers went around, perhaps his concentration dropped just a little bit, or the situation was different. In any case, Bill Baird going around apparently without too much damage to the car.
Made some contact with car number 71, the John O'Neill machine, as it now is traveling minus its right front fender. It does not look like any significant damage for Bill Baird's car number 26. He may have been going backwards because he may too have had a tire problem. Expect to see him on pit road. Now would be the time. If anybody's going to come in, I think this might be the last opportunity for lead lap automobiles.
And yet, the cars that are running out there in contention for the lead, well, just as you spoke now, here we come in. Mike Miller's in the pits. Scott Hansen runs down to the far end of pit road there. He's up at the head of the pit road. Here comes Baird into the pits to have his problems repaired. They feel as though most of it's on the left side of the car, and up it goes. Here's what happened.
Get another peek. He's already lost several positions, and he's just out of frame. He had dropped back from 2nd to 7th, and there is that contact with John O'Neill's car number 71.
And again, the skill of these ASA drivers very much in evidence, as a couple of cars doing a good job to avoid. Ralph Shaheen is down there on pit road, right at the center of action. Ralph?
Well, they got the left side tires changed on Bill Baird's car, and boy, he really had some tough luck out there, gentlemen. He was running just great. And then the incident with John O'Neill.
Still difficult to tell exactly what precipitated that incident. In any case, Baird passed by several cars, got together with the 71 of John O'Neill, and the end result is this man has lost 2nd position. We'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Did you ever wish you could do magic? Hi, I'm Brad Cairns, and I never get tired of seeing eyes sparkle and jaws drop when I perform a little magic. Well, I'm here to tell you that you can do magic too. I've made a video that will help you master some of the basics of misdirection. Imagine you'll be able to make any small object completely disappear and then pull it right out from behind someone's ear. My video gives step-by-step instructions showing you some of the most clever magical effects ever devised. Grandparents can dazzle their grandchildren, parents can amaze their kids, and every trick can be performed with household items, like the nut and bolt mystery. You don't need any special props. Let me share my magic with you. So order my new magic video now before they all disappear.
Learn the secrets of magic quickly with this new easy-to-follow video. Order by calling 1-800-352-2121 or send check or money order for $19.95 plus $3.90 shipping and handling to the address on your screen. Or call 1-800-352-2121. Sorry, no CODs.
Hit the beach. The top surfers are carving up the face, kicking it out, and wowing them in big-time board action. Hang 10 with a hip scene in the Bud Pro Surf Tour, dude. Watch the waves with a few buds on this regional sports network.
America's premier short track racing series continues here in the final 100 laps of this 300-lap race, the Pontiac Excitement 300. Under caution, many of the leaders pitted. Notably not coming into the pits was Bob Seneker, who will be our leader.
Here is the point in time just a few laps ago when Gary St. Amant was able to take 2nd position from Bill Baird. Look how Bill has just taken a much higher line that time going into turn number 3. The car had worked the best on the bottom. He's still battling, trying to fend off that position. But sometimes when you get out of the groove that works perfectly for you, you can go backwards very quickly, and that's what happened. Now, we stopped frame right there, but I think coming off of turn number 2, there might have been a little contact between Scott Hansen and Bill Baird as Bill was trying to get back to the bottom of the racetrack. But again, the car worked great for a while on the bottom, but once he got shuffled up, he went straight back.
Well, and when we were standing up at the top of the track at the very beginning of the show here this evening, of course, I made the comment that it's real easy here at I-70 to see what they talk about when they say you're in the marbles. You get out of that racing groove and all that loose stuff, tire stuff, debris, whatever else is out there, gets pushed up to the top of the track. You get up there and you're history. Once again, down the pit road, Ralph Shaheen, more.
Dan Crawford is the crew chief for Bob Seneker. You guys haven't pitted in a while. What's your strategy?
Well, that's what we're talking about right now. We need to pit by lap 230 or 240. We'd like to have right side tires on go the rest of the way. And fuel is going to be real close.
How strong is he tonight? Do you think he can hold him off with some fresh tires?
I didn't hear that.
How strong is he tonight? Can he hold him off with some fresh tires?
Well, yeah, I think we can hold them up with the tires we got. We're more concerned about the fuel than we are the tires right now.
The other thing to add, gentlemen, is that Brett Bell had a broken shock. They replaced that. They got him back out on the racetrack. They fueled him up, and he is back in the hunt.
Bob Seneker in the number 84. We have seen him so many times before, 78 times in victory circle, 46 times on the pole in the American Speed Association. So we go back to green flag racing with Bob Seneker leading Mike Eddy in second position on the racetrack, but 2 laps down, trying to get one back. He's running out of time.
Gary St. Amant and Glenn Allen Jr. no longer have to contend with Bill Baird. Let's see if they're able to maintain the leader's pace. They weren't when running in third and fourth. Glenn Allen is way up high in turn 3. Collects the car, but I think lost a position to Brad Loney in the process. Gary St. Amant is dispatched with Dennis Lamlett, and Glenn Allen has slipped way up out of the racing groove, and I think Ralph may have seen it. Ralph?
Well, what happened, Rob, was Gary St. Amant is really charging to the front. He got real low on Ray Skillman, forced Skillman high, and Skillman drifted up high. That took Glenn Allen Jr. up very high, and little Glenn lost a lot of ground, but Gary St. Amant is coming like a freight train in the 7th.
And suddenly Brad Loney pops onto the leaderboard as he used the misfortune by Glenn Allen Jr. to take over third position. That's the best we've seen Brad Loney all night tonight.
Well, how many times have we talked about how patient the veteran drivers are in stalking after the young guys who early in the race go out there and race each other literally into the fence. But this time it's been the young drivers, Brad Loney, Gary St. Amant, and Glenn Allen Jr. most notably right now, who have shown the patience that may end up in winning this race here tonight.
We still hear a rather unusual sound emanating from Glenn Allen Jr.'s car number 15. We did not see the hood go up on the car when he came on pit road the last time, and it still seems to be running very strongly. It's probably a broken header pipe. If in fact that proves to be the case, it might have cost him about 15 horsepower. And Harold Fair has spun coming off turn number 4, bringing out yet another caution, and it looks like some pretty heavy damage to the front of car number 81, and I think it was a single car incident.
Harold Fair able to get the car moving again. You can see the fiberglass Kevlar body parts kind of coming askew, and now Harold is having a traction problem there. Slicks don't work real well in the grass, and there's evidence of that fact that's pretty well known by anybody that's tried it before.
Quit raining last night, but the track is still wet. There's a sister racetrack that we understand is still under 3 inches of water. So we're fortunate that the heavy rains that have plagued this place over the last couple of weeks have still enabled us to go racing tonight.
That racetrack is very close to the airport, and I saw it coming in. I'd say it's under at least 3 inches of water. We'll be back here to a racetrack that's for the most part dry, but not lacking in excitement. We'll be right back.
Pool the Master's Way and learn from the best. 2 of America's favorite instructional videos are now available only through this special TV offer. Get tips from Steve Miserak, Pretty Boy Floyd, Iwo Mataya, and other pool greats. Now, for a limited time, you can order both videos for the price of one. Learn the secrets of breaks, banks, defense, position, angles, and trick shots like the Massey and the jump.
Take it from me, The Miz. When you purchase Pool the Master's Way and learn from the best, you'll learn everything you need to know how to shoot pool like a pro. With these 2 tapes, you can do almost anything except beat me.
World champion Steve Miserak takes you through the best ways to improve your game. Call the number on your screen and we'll send you this wonderful 2-video cassette collection for just $19.95 plus postage and handling.
2 for the price of 1? How can you go wrong?
These videos have never been offered together and are only being offered for a limited time. Call now. Have your credit card ready. An operator is waiting for your call. Sorry, no CODs. Call now.
You don't have to be 19 to have a body like this. You don't have to work out 8 hours a day. You don't have to be narcissistic or shallow. In fact, all you really need is $39 a month. The SoloFlex Muscle Machine. What are you waiting for?
Welcome back, everybody, to I-70 Speedway here as we begin to wind down the Pontiac Excitement 300. Want to tell you that supplemental lighting here at I-70 Speedway for the Kansas City Pontiac dealers Pontiac Excitement 300 was furnished by Musco Lighting, light years ahead through technology. Night racing is just great,
it really
isn't it?
That's what I started to say. You made a comment when we were off the air, and I thought it was a great analogy comparing it with going to a movie theater.
Well, when you race at night,
and there's a black dome over the racetrack. It draws your attention to the racetrack and to everything on it and everything in the infield and everything that's going on without the distractions of being able to look around and see anything else going on. So it's very simply, to me anyway, the difference between going to the movies when they turn the house lights on or going to the movies when the house lights are down or watching TV in the dark at home. How much cooler is that?
Colors are more vibrant, and I don't know what it is, but on the racetrack they go about 15 miles an hour faster in the dark.
It's just racing at night, just to me, I don't know what other word to use it, it's just sexier. We'll probably get calls on that.
Well, there's Harold Fair's car number 81, minus some pieces and parts of the bodywork, and he finally did get an assist from one of the track vehicles to get out of his predicament, and he keeps shedding parts as he goes around the racetrack. I think they're going to have to go around behind him with a scooper and a broom to get everything that he's dropping. And there's the leader of the race, Gary St. Amant in car number 7. He told us before the race today that he was tired of running 5th and 6th. He was glad to be 2nd in the points, but it was time to win, and you know, it looks like this might be the night for him.
Just out of this picture is Glenn Allen Jr. and Ralph Shaheen has there. He's creeping into the shot right there. Ralph, what's up?
It is a broken header pipe for Glenn Allen Jr., gentlemen. The crew is saying that they don't think it's going to affect the horsepower of the car too much here tonight, so he should still have enough to get by if the tires will hold up for him.
Rob Albright, you calls them like you sees them. You've been there, done that, and seen it before.
And sometimes I just get real lucky.
While we ponder that question and whether or not it was just luck or good sense by my partner Rob Albright, these folks are enjoying their evening. You come on back.
If you settle for a remanufactured engine without a brand name, be sure you've got a pair of name brand shoes. AC-Delco engines, the national brand name with the nationwide warranty. Call for a location near you. Of course, if you come in on foot, we'll understand.
Vitamins do for your body, VitaWins does for your car.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
So few chances to enjoy the fruit of victory. So many ways to lose. Prime Racing. 5 major series that take you from the pole to the parade lap. Prime Racing. It's not just a display of power and precision by a batch of cherries. It's also the pits.
We're coming right to the line. This is going to be close. Bam!
Prime Racing, all season on this regional sports network.
We never get tired of ASA racing here on Prime, and these tires might just be a factor as we wind ourselves down into the last few laps. We would have to expect, Rob Albright, that just about everybody that needs tires has gone in and gotten them by now. They've certainly had no shortage of opportunities, and we're ready to run to the checkers, I would say, for the last 70-some-odd laps here.
And we've got a Ford, a Chevrolet, and a Pontiac running 1, 2, 3. This is the best running Pontiac at the moment, the Eaglewood Construction CarQuest Pontiac of Glenn Allen Jr. And we had mentioned that he came very near disaster on the last restart. Watch at the top of your screen, looking for him. There's Gary St. Amant going to the low side of Ray Skillman. Skillman realizes he's there and squeezes Glenn way up into the gray matter at the top of the racetrack. Glenn collects it, but here comes Brad Loney, and that was the move that enabled Loney to take over 2nd position. So very near tragedy for Glenn Allen Jr. tonight.
Again, the young drivers, the young Turks of the American Speed Association, Glenn Allen Jr., Brad Loney, Gary St. Amant, who leads this race, are the guys that have demonstrated, at least apparently so, the patience that it takes to win. Patience that we have given credit to guys like Bob Seneker and Mike Eddy for having.
Bob Seneker, Mike Miller came on pit road. Scott Hansen, the most recently of the lead lap automobiles. We're still showing 8 cars on the lead lap. And I think that Bob Seneker, who was way back in the queue at this this point could be in trouble should we go green the rest of the way. But if we experience a caution, those fresher tires would enable Seneca to really take advantage of that fact. But he's got to hope for a caution, and at I-70, you're likely to get one.
Should also mention that the black number 88 and Mike Eddy have gotten another lap back. Now, he's still a full lap down, plus the distance, of course, all the way around the racetrack. But I'll tell you what, he has very methodically worked his way back into contention in this race. Ralph Shaheen with more on our leader, Gary St. Amant.
That is one car that is in really good shape right now. Gary has enough fuel to go all the way. They feel the tires are good enough to go all the way. He will have done 150 laps on this set of tires if he keeps them on all the way, but they think that's plenty of rubber to get him to the finish.
And Gary St. Amant has a history as an ASA driver of nursing tires. He's very easy on equipment, particularly on his tires. We've seen him, well, I remember a few years ago when he beat Ted Musgrave to the checkered flag in the All-American 400 in Nashville with really old tires just by saving them. Now Glenn Allen goes to the high side of Brad Loney. We've got a battle for second position, and it's not a battle for very long, is it?
And horsepower does not seem to be a problem, as Glenn Allen Jr. just put his foot in the floor of that Pontiac and went right around the fastest Chevy in ASA, as Brad Loney is fond of calling his number 33 entry.
It's now Ford, Pontiac, Chevy, 1, 2, 3. Then another Ford. J.D. Summers is right there in car number 22. Behind him is Brian Refner in 5. And about a half lap back is Bob Seneker's car number 84 and mired in traffic.
J.D. Summers is having sponsorship problems. Anybody with their name on his car has got to be pretty heartened by the run that this young rookie driver has been making all season long, and tonight, as we might add. Led briefly, or well, actually a little more than briefly, but he led during the course of the race, and he is now, through a series of pit stops and circumstances, put himself right back up in contention when it counts at the tail end of this race. There is the leader, Gary St. Amant, Brad Loney, Glenn Allen Jr., and Brian Refner. We have a quartet, actually 5, 6. We go down 6 drivers deep until we get to a veteran driver in Mike Miller. A lot of young talent up front right now tonight.
Joe Knott, Mike Miller among that front-running octet of automobiles with the freshest tires, and they are really closing. They've moved right in behind Brian Refner. Joe Knott is all over the back end of Refner, so they could be joining this front-running threesome that we're looking at right now very, very quickly.
And of course, we saw the 18 car and the 48 car battling for the lead, or actually for second place. Here's the battle for 5th and 6th place. They do go both inside of Refner, so I think you're exactly right, Rob, as you often are. Fresh tires really going to tell the tale here in the closing laps of this race, and the guys with the freshest tires are going to the front.
And I think both of these guys are really in better shape than Seneca, because they stopped one caution earlier than he did and didn't have that. More cars came on pit road when they came in. Very few came in when Bob did, so he's really having to labor getting through lap traffic.
Exciting race as we once again look at a race behind the leaders in 4th and 5th place here for Joe Knott in the number 48 Alan Knott Valvoline Raby Ford. We've kidded about him having borrowed a hood off of Mark Martin's car, and he liked it so much that he just isn't going to give it back. That's not exactly the case, but it makes for good copy. And Mike Miller in the number 18 Atlanta Communications Pontiac tore his car all up last week in the last chance qualifying race, and in the 4 hours between that race and the feature was able to get it back together with the help of just about every crew on pit road. And even though he ended up breaking a Panhard car late in the race and finishing very poorly, is certainly in the hunt for this one.
Speaking of Mark Martin, who is a perennial front runner in the NASCAR series, he won an ASA race here back in 1979.
We saw Mark Martin at Topeka Heartland Park race, where we will be revisiting later on this year at the end of July. Might we see Mark Martin and Ted Musgrave and Darrell Waltrip as we did last year once again? Well, those guys like coming racing with these fellas and coming back to ASA, to their roots. We might just see them again.
It's great to see Ted Musgrave have such a strong year in NASCAR. Was never able to win an ASA championship, won a couple of races here, but left really, I think, before he was in his real ASA heyday, and having a great season with Roush Racing, 4th in NASCAR points.
Of course, a quick little footnote to Ted Musgrave's appearance at Topeka last year. He was in fact spotting for his Roush Racing teammate Mark Martin and not actually driving in the Topeka Heartland Park ASA stop.
I think he does intend to race with us later on this season. That may be the event that we'll see him in.
That'll be fun.
Well, Joe Knott has caught J.D. Summers. That is the battle now for 4th position. Look at Summers going underneath Brad Loney. I think he recognized that he was going to get some heat. And Summers didn't show much restraint behind Steve Shive, did not want to give ground on Loney, was forced to, and you could see Joe Knott. He got out on the throttle and made sure Summers had enough room to get by.
Well, Summers had that 22 car wiggling all over the place, trying to stay out of the back of the 33 of Brad Loney, and now the ground that he lost, he needs to try to make up, but Joe Knott just coming like gangbusters here. Mike Miller backing off just a little bit, maybe just to let those two young guys go at it and see what they're going to do. But here's the race for now, 4th and 5th place behind the leader out on the racetrack. Boy, Gary St. Amant trying to check out here as we approach the final 50 laps, the all-important 50 laps that Glenn Allen Jr. referred to.
And once again, we see the top 7 cars, Brian, right together on the racetrack. Watch him. You can see Glenn Allen that time going into turn number 1. The right front brake rotor was just glowing as he went. Actually, it's the disc that's glowing as it gets all that the workout from the calipers on it going into turn number 1. And look at Joe Knott. He's sideways that time, skittering past a lapped automobile.
A lot of exciting racing going on out there on I-70 Speedway, a place that certainly lends itself to exciting racing. All the early troubles seem to have sorted themselves out. Gary St. Amant emerging as the leader in the late going here. 49 laps remain on the scoreboard. There's some smoke coming out of J.D. Summers' car, and that is not a good sign for the young driver, the number 22 there.
We saw a very similar thing for Harold Fair earlier, and we kind of conjectured after he stayed on the racetrack that it might have been a power steering pump. Perhaps the same thing for J.D. Summers, as he really hasn't fallen off the pace at all.
Well, the steering certainly gets a workout here, as does every component of the race car, and J.D. Summers, maybe the power steering pump expired in similarly dramatic fashion, as you said, of Harold Fair. I thought Harold popped an engine, and he just kept his foot in it, kept going. And, of course, his most recent troubles involved with an incident. J.D. Summers probably power steering by Armstrong in there now, as if that's what it was.
Just a handful of victories represented in that front-running quartet, and those concentrated in the 2 front-running automobiles of Gary St. Amant and Glenn Allen Jr. We've touted them for the last 3 or 4 years as the up-and-coming young Lions. They've been joined in the last 3 seasons by Brad Loney, who just gets stronger and stronger with that baby-faced bunch that work with him on pit road, average age 26 years of age, and J.D. Summers, who over the last 2 or 3 years has periodically run a couple of races with ASA, and we've asked him on many occasions, why don't you come full-time? He's worked and worked and worked and finally gotten that golden opportunity, and definitely proving himself worthy of the call from Junior Handley.
Well, your mention of Brad Loney and his young pit crew reminded me that we made mention of the fact about how young they were. They were threatening to show up at the next race with diapers and pacifiers just to make fun of us, but they are young and quickly rising to the top of the crews out there on pit road.
Well, I understand they actually are illegal on their pit stops because one of the crew members is the wife of the crew chief and she is with child. So they actually have one crew member over the limit, but I think they give her a little allowance because she's just a little slower than she was.
J.D. Summers apparently has no problem fatal to the effort of his race car, the number 22 there, as the young Clinton Township, Michigan driver in the Ford Quaker State Ford continues to circulate. Behind him, it's Joe Knott now in 5th. And once again, let's go to Ralph Shaheen down on pit road. More Ralph.
That's the power steering unit letting go on J.D. Summers' car. They think he has enough strength left to wrestle the beast home, but it's not going to be an easy run to the checker.
And I just started to say I didn't realize that Ralph was there ready to jump in, but he has fallen back now several car lengths. However, Joe Knott and Mike Miller are no longer challenging for that spot either. So I think the advantage that they had, maybe the fresh tire advantage goes away after just a few laps and things tend to equalize in a long green flag run.
Apparently so, and of course your guests having been confirmed now by Ralph Shaheen, so we know the situation that J.D. Summers is wrestling that car without the benefit of power steering. Gary St. Amant in the number 7 wins Port City. Ford Thunderbird is leading this one, and we're getting close to the end.
Take high-performance sports car technology and combine it with the #1 name in motorhomes, and what do you get? The exciting new Rialta from Winnebago Industries, the official motorhomes of NASCAR. The fuel-efficient Rialta features front-wheel drive maneuverability, great towing capacity, a unique floor plan, and is fully self-contained. So whether you're following the NASCAR circuit or enjoying America, the Rialta is built for you. For more information, call 1-800-643-4892. The new Rialta, it's more than a motorhome.
Nothing would give me more pleasure than beating the Yanks in their own backyard.
What did he say? Yeah, right. Bring him on. We'll settle this in Laguna.
It's a rivalry you won't want to miss. Call now for ticket and accommodation information. 1-800-327-SECA.
Goodyear wins the Indy 500.
It's the greatest race in the world, and winning it gives you a feeling you just can't imagine. Just incredible. Unbelievable. And we had exactly what we needed to get to the finish line first, including our Goodyear Eagles, the tires that know how to win at Indy.
Goodyear, #1 at the Indy 500 24 years straight.
In my lifetime, there's only been one tire legend at Indy, and that's Goodyear.
Welcome back. You're looking at the leader of this Pontiac Excitement 300. It is Gary St. Amant, the #7 wins Port City Ford Thunderbird. Pontiac Excitement rests on the shoulders now of Glenn Allen Jr.
And you're looking at Bobby Bell, former all-pro football player with the Kansas City Chiefs. I guess football players like auto racing, with Joe Gibbs, the former coach, getting into it big time, and Walter Payton, now part owner of an IndyCar team. What do you think, Bobby Bell? You like this ASA stuff? He is a guest tonight of the Flex Steel Corporation, who is one of Brad Loney's sponsors. So he's got to be thrilled to see his car doing very well. I'm sure it's the only guy he knows, at least before tonight. It's the only one.
The eyes tell the story. I would have to say that Bobby Bell was just a little bit into what's going on out there right now. His eyes were big as saucers, and he was looking everywhere on the racetrack trying to figure out and compute, calculate, do all the necessary machinations that we are up here in the booth, trying to figure out just how this thing is going to play itself out. Gary St. Amant with good and fresh tires and plenty of fuel. There's J.D. Summers' car spitting out some more bad signs there. Glenn Allen Jr., apparently his car set to go to the end. And Brad Loney, who has emerged very patiently to run in the top 3 now.
Summers perplexes me. Usually when the power steering pump goes, you see one big blast of smoke and then it quits, but that has not been the case. Now, he had dropped back for a while after he experienced the initial problem. Now he's once again closed on the front-running trio.
Now, are Joe Nott and Mike Miller and the rest of the guys behind J.D. Summers tiptoeing around back there a little bit, wondering, well, maybe this guy's car is just going to let go all of a sudden and we don't really want to be there when it happens?
I don't think so. I think if they knew there was something coming out that was impeding their progress, they would see it very quickly on the windshields of their race cars, and then they probably would be giving him a wider berth. They also would be in radio communication with their crew chief, who would be pleading a case with an ASA official. So whatever it is, it's probably not really causing them any grief at this point.
Good point. There's J.D. Summers working the high side around the 50 car of Eddie Sharp. And back to the leaders with Gary St. Amant now getting a little bit of a challenge as Glenn Allen Jr. shows him the nose down low as we work down to the final 25 laps of this Pontiac Excitement 300.
You've got to give Gary St. Amant a lot of credit for not blinking under the pressure, Brian, because it's very apparent that Glenn Allen Jr. has a faster race car than does his former Ohio buddy, Gary St. Amant. Of course, Glenn Allen has moved to the Grand Rapids area, Gary back to his hometown of Columbus, Ohio, but their roots go way back. They ran a lot of the same tracks together and cut their racing teeth together with ASA fathers.
Gary St. Amant leading the race. Glenn Allen Jr. running in second spot, the winner of this race a year ago. We had a chance to talk to him earlier and ask him to what does he attribute his success here at the I-70 Speedway.
It's been a good track for us, yeah. I mean, this is a big momentum builder for us. I mean, I feel like we're the best car here. The biggest thing to beat is the 88 car, but I think we're going to have something for him here.
I had a quick little story. You know, rarely, and I think you alluded to this earlier in private conversation, rarely when you ask a driver, okay, hey, are you fast enough to suit yourself? You go to a racetrack, of course, you always ask, you know, how you doing? How's the car? And they're always going to be a little hesitant about really divulging what they feel. Glenn Allen Jr. walked past me down in the infield of the racetrack, and I said, well, Glenn, are you fast enough to suit yourself? And, well, I won't tell you exactly what he said, but the effect of was, you're darn right, absolutely, positively, and that I just set me back on my heels. I never heard a race car driver be so emphatic about how fast he felt like he and his car were going to be.
Well, he does like this place. The faster the racetrack, the better, I think, for Glenn Allen Jr. He goes well everywhere, but he especially likes the quick high-banked racetracks.
This young driver is the real deal. The real deal of the up-and-coming young talent in the American Speed Association.
All of them are, and I know sometimes race fans may get sick of seeing car number 88 out in front, may get tired of hearing us talk about Mike Eddy. But Mike Eddy, if there's one thing that he's done for the rest of these guys, as J.D. Summers gets sideways, he is really out of shape, and he carries Mike Miller up to the wall. So 2 cars in the top 6 have brought out a yellow flag. They'll remain on the lead lap, but that's going to allow a lot of other cars to come closing in, and Summers apparently has a right front down as he hammers the wall in turn 2.
Could not keep the car out of the wall. Collects Mike Miller with cosmetic damage to the 18 car. Those guys running both of them in the top 6. And the other thing is, getting back to talking about Mike Eddy, and Gary St. Amant was the guy that said this down in the infield. Gary St. Amant, leading this race now, says that Mike Eddy is the guy that is making us do our job.
Well, that's
He's making this a job and not a recreation. We can't just come out here and drive around anymore, because that guy has elevated the standards so high, we're all trying to get where he is. And we're going to go down to Ralph Shaheen down on pit road again.
J.D. Summers has brought the number 22 in. They had to go over and pick up the right side of the car. It was right down on the racetrack. They're going to change the right side tires. They're having a problem with communication over the radios to J.D., so it makes things a little bit difficult. They weren't sure if the power steering finally went away so bad that he couldn't keep it under control, or if he cut the tire down first. But he is in. They will change right sides and get the Rookie of the Year contender back in.
And he'll go a lap down. Meanwhile, Mike Eddy, who was right in front of Gary St. Amant, picks up distance on the racetrack. Here's exactly what happened. He had gone to the low side of Brad Loney, got extremely low. Here he's a bit sideways, taps Loney. Loney corrects and gathers it in. Then it's Joe Knott getting to the back end. It's just a chain reaction situation. Summers goes up high, and the unfortunate real victim here is Mike Miller in car number 18, riding along behind these 2 guys, minding his own business, and suddenly he's minus a left front fender.
Well, he kept it off the wall at least. That's good. He's still circulating it on the lead lap. Here's J.D. Summers going back out with fresh right side. Well, maybe he's not going back out, but we'll be right back.
Do you have an idea for a new product or invention that you'd like to submit to companies? If so, there's information from Invention Submission Corporation to help get you started. ISC is America's largest invention service organization with over 50 offices nationwide. We help people like you submit their ideas to companies. Call this toll-free number now and we'll send you this free information. It includes an important document that assures confidentiality, a form for recording and dating your invention, and an informative brochure which tells you how to proceed with submitting your invention to companies through the ISC data bank as well as various other means. Even if you only have an idea for improving an existing product and don't know where to go with it, you'll want to call now for ISC's free information.
For your free inventor's information, call Invention Submission Corporation now at 1-800-522-5333. That's 1-800-522-5333.
Skate TV, the show that takes you around and inside the world of skating to capture the glamour, the glory, and the passion you couldn't get anywhere else until now. Skate TV, only on this regional sports network.
Welcome back to I-70 Speedway in Odessa, Missouri. We're getting set for the final few laps here of this ASA event. J.D. Summers, your night finally came to an end. What happened to you?
Everybody got stopped up, and somebody hit me in the rear and put me in the wall. I don't know who it was.
So it wasn't the power steering unit then?
No. Everybody stopped up, and I got pushed in the rear and right into the wall.
Green flag is out, gentlemen. We go back to racing here at I-70.
Well, he did get bumped by Joe Knott in car number 48, but it was J.D. Summers, making the move on Brad Loney, and him getting a little sideways that gave Knott the impetus, I think, to get into the back end. So it's really hard to place any blame on anybody. Just one of them deals.
One of them deals, I was going to say. We're down to about a 13-lap shootout here at the tail end of 300 here in the Pontiac Excitement 300, and it is the Wins Port City Ford Thunderbird of Gary St. Amant leading the Pontiac number 15 Eaglewood Construction CarQuest entry of Glenn Allen Jr. 2 young drivers, the second of whom is the defending champion here at I-70 Speedway. And Gary St. Amant, what a happy guy. he will be at the end of this race if he's able to hold off Little Glenn and pick up his first win of this young season.
And Brian, it looks like a two-car shootout. Look at the gap that they've opened up on Brad Loney and Joe Knott, who run in third and fourth positions. Now, there were a couple of cars separating second place Glenn Allen from Brad Loney, but it took Loney a little longer to get around than we might have expected, and it's enabled Joe Knott now to pressure him for third.
Well, Loney's handling troubles might have become a little bit obvious there when J.D. Summers tried to go down low on him and not punted into the back of J.D., as he put it. So Loney may be experiencing some difficulties here that are taking him out of the running for a victory. He's trying to hold on for a podium finish tonight.
Well, not only, you said Gary St. Amant would be happy with the win, no doubt about that, but Glenn Allen would be happy with the win, too. He'd like to win one for his mom, Terry, who is in the hospital this evening as we broadcast this race. She has some physical ills, and we just wish her a very, very speedy recovery. And her kid could win one. I think that would help. Irene Hudson, who supports Bob Seneca, also in absentia this evening, as those two guys, St. Amant and Glenn Allen, try to check out on this good third-place battle between Loney and Knott.
Cindy Peterson appearing briefly there. She started at the tail end of the field with a car incompletely prepared after a wall incident at the start of this race. Brad Loney and Joe Knott battling for third and fourth. Up front, it's Gary St. Amant and Glenn Allen Jr. Ralph Shaheen has more.
Glenn Allen Jr. is going to have to go to the high side of Gary St. Amant. He is really protecting the bottom lane. The problem for Glenny is when he gets up there, it looks like the 15 starts to get loose on him. He's got plenty of horsepower, but I don't think he has the traction in that upper groove, gentlemen, to get past Gary St. Amant.
Shades of 1994 when it was Steve Holzhausen leading this race, Glenn Allen Jr. running in second position, and that's exactly, Ralph, what Glenn had to do to make the pass on Holzhausen. The track conditions are a little bit different. Glenn may not have the car to go to the high side this year. He's got to hope that Gary makes a mistake, and with 5 laps to go, I don't know that that mistake is forthcoming. Bob Seneca has picked up several positions. He's up to 5th, but as St. Amant and Glenn Allen battle, now Brad Loney and Joe Knott have closed in once again in third and fourth.
Well, Glenn Allen Jr.'s only foray up onto the high side of the racetrack sent the pucker factor up there off the scale a while ago, so I don't believe he wants to go up there again. You're absolutely right. And Gary St. Amant protecting with every ounce of his energy and every bit of his experience that low side there. This is really going down to the wire. We're coming up on the last couple of laps. We see Roger Slack readying the white flag, although it has not yet waved. He's getting ready. It's 2 laps to go and a shootout finish between Gary St. Amant and Glenn Allen Jr. for the win here in this Pontiac Excitement 300.
And the juxtaposition very reminiscent of the battle between Jay Sauter and Mike Eddy late in the race that saw Sauter end up in the tire barrier. I don't think we'll see the same result. White flag, 1 lap to go. Gary St. Amant just 4 turns to his first victory of 1995, and he was winless in 94.
St. Amant trying to hold off for just a couple more turns. He's got a relatively clear track in front of him, and all he's got to do is just hold off Glenn Allen Jr.'s charge out of this final corner. He will take his first victory of the 95 season in the wins. Port City Ford Thunderbird, and a very happy crew that has had a long wait to get down to victory lane will be there in just a little while. Thanks to this man and the preparation that they have made on the number 7 machine, Gary St. Amant becomes the winner of the Pontiac Excitement 300. We'll come back right after these messages and, of course, visit with Gary St. Amant and the rest of the characters that will figure into the podium in a moment.
The BBC, Turner Broadcasting, and Time Life Video dare you to take a walk on the wild side with Trials of Life. The gripping, award-winning nature video series that exposes the struggle to survive through uncensored, shocking photography. Join acclaimed naturalist David Attenborough for a close encounter with raw nature. See the thrill of the hunt and the strategy of the kill, the relentless drive to continue the bloodline, and the miracle of birth. Call now and receive Hunting and Escaping for $9.99 and see why the law of the jungle is kill or be killed. If it captures your interest, you can get other videos about every other month. Each tape explores the harsh realities of survival in the animal world. Take a walk on the wild side with Trials of Life. Call now to order Hunting and Escaping and find out why we call them animals.
To order your Trials of Life, call 1-800-522-5333 or send $9.99 plus $3.23 shipping and handling to the address shown on your screen.
I'm Jack
Jack Nicklaus, and I've just joined Golf Magazine as special contributor. You can join Golf Magazine too.
Call now for Golf Magazine, and you'll also get absolutely free Jack's video playing the percentages, an insider's guide to improving your game. Jack, it's great to have you on the Golf Magazine team. Where should we look for you in upcoming issues?
Where else? The golf course.
Ralph Shaheen in the midst of a very, very happy celebration by the entire crew of the Wynn's Port City Ford Thunderbird. So let's go right down to Ralph.
Boy, this is one of the best victory parties I think we've had in an AC-Delco Challenge Series race in a long time. We got Bud St. Amant down here. Bev Olshag is with us here. Gary's here with us. Lisa Dickinson, Miss Wiz, the whole crew. Everybody with a Wynn sticker on is down here with us. You got to be so fired up about this. Tell me what made the difference. You were driving like an animal out there tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ralph. You know, this one goes to the crew. You know, Wynn's Port City Ford Thunderbird was fast at the end of the race when it counted. We was a little bit off on our setup in the beginning, and we ended up making probably 2 or 3 pit stops more than what anybody else made, and that made all the difference. The crew done a hell of a job getting the car right, and whew, boy, Glenn was pushing me there at the end.
Hey, you know, you've had that focus sign up on your everywhere for the last 2-3 years now. What were you thinking about those last few laps when little Glenn was challenging you?
Well, you know, I was focused to the racetrack in front of me, but it's kind of hard, you know, when you got a competitor like Glenn Allen Jr. right behind you. I mean, you know, I knew he wouldn't put a fender on me, you know, but I knew I had to keep it on the bottom, and you know, it's a great win for the Wynn's Ford Thunderbird.
How much of a momentum boost is this for you now going into the next race back at Berlin?
Well, you know, let's see, we go to Berlin next. That's a real good racetrack for us. You know, I'm sure we're still second in points, but we made up some ground on that good wrench car. And, you know, and for momentum, that's what I was telling the guys. We needed a win to pick us up. The Mo baby's here. The Mo is here.
Well, of course, gentlemen, that Berlin race will be seen live right here on Prime Network. And, of course, it always helps when you win with the boss here.
Well, he jumped off the ground about a foot. We'll be back with more.
If you ever wanted to be a young racer, it's easy. If you have a question about racing or your favorite driver, write it down on a card and send it to me. We'll have one of our drivers and officials answer for you on the air. If your question is selected, we'll send you a nifty racing hat and t-shirt. So send your questions to Young Racers, P.O. Box 26792, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28221.
Power up with a power-engineered system from Competition Cams. Matching components for peak horsepower. Cams, lifters, springs, valves, rockers, timing sets, and push rods. An unbeatable system. Power-engineered components produce outstanding power and outstanding torque. Cam Help is your toll-free link to the Competition Cams technical department. Call 1-800-999-0853. You can't beat a power-engineered system from Competition Cams.
Live NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on TNN, the Nashville Network. High stakes, ultra-high speeds, and the men who lay it all on the line. The extreme heat of a battle, where a mistake can cost you more than just the race. Yeah, nothing can rock 'em and roll 'em like live Winston Cup Racing on TNN Motorsports. It doesn't get any closer. Watch the UAW GM Teamwork 500 live Sunday, June 11th, 1 p.m. Eastern.
The 1995 AC-Delco Challenge Series on Prime is brought to you in part by Wynn Oil Company, makers of quality automotive car care products. Remember, when it's Wynn's, it works. By your GM Goodwrench service dealer. We want your business. And by Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires.
We made probably 2 or 3 more pit
The celebrating is long from being over down in the infield. Here's a look at how the field finished. We hope that you see your favorite driver in among these folks, and I would have to say that the kids are in the house.
Absolutely, occupying the top 4 positions. Gary St. Amant, Glenn Allen Jr. gave it all he had. Brad Loney, another good strong run for him, and Joe Knott. The kid just keeps on coming. At 22 years of age, ASA's youngest regular and the veteran. Look at Mike Eddy, 10th place. Scott Hansen, 6th. Mike Miller, Brian Reffner, Bobby Gillen, his first ASA start. And that's a good debut. Mike Eddy finishes 10th just by persevering tonight.
Bill Baird's late race mishap moved him from leading the race down to an 11th place finish, and a lot of to tell here. And of course, one of the things you're out there to even get it.